right. This is the Superman discussions of Superman discussions.
Mm-hmm.
I like the Superman movie. It was extremely enjoyable. I think James Gunn did a great job. I don't think it's the best movie I've ever seen, but it's really enjoyable and did exactly what he intended it to do. Ezekiel over here, he loved the movie. He's a a growing Superman guy.
I'm a DC
Get
guy
more
at heart,
get
though.
more into Superman. Don has his apprehensions about the movie. I'm not gonna say he hates it. I'm not gonna say he loves it. I'll let him tell you that, but I'll let him start off and give his long, detailed dissertation
Let me
for
get my notepad out so I can write
he
down.
why he did not like this Superman rendition. Don, you have the floor. You have the
Oh
con.
boy. Oh my goodness. Um. Well, I think the best way for me to start this is to say that this Superman was amazing. It amazed me from the very beginning of it throughout, still amazing me today. And I was hopeful through the entire thing. I really was. It amazed me just so many bad decisions that were made, missed opportunities, and stupid things that were in it that
Oh my
take you
gosh.
out of it. I was hopeful that it would turn it around and change somewhere and actually turn out to be good toward the end. But unfortunately, I don't get that. But yes, I mean that's really where I'm at. There's plenty that you could say that's like cool shots, this and that. Um, there's a lot in the editing that after watching it, I have watched it four plus times. Fairly tired, so I fell asleep during one of the showings quite a bit. So, but still saw a lot of it. But I wake up and I say, "Oh man, I missed that scene that I was looking for." Uh, like little things that I was trying to figure out. Steve Lombard, when the message is revealed, and we're going all full on spoilers, everybody. Okay, so don't watch if you don't want spoilers, because we'll get into the
Or Don might
details.
say, "Go ahead and watch," because he doesn't want you to go see this
Or
movie.
go ahead, yeah. It doesn't matter whether you see it or not, because once you see it, you'll never watch it again. Uh, but Lombard had a little lapel pin of Superman's, crest, and he took it off, at that moment. And I missed that like several times because I saw his hand up there, taking it off, but I didn't see what it was. Over and over again, I kept going back to see that. I was like, wait. I finally got my eyes on it at that very moment. But there's a lot going on. There's a lot that goes on on the screens. Uh, so there's it's um, I'm gonna read you a review of it here in a moment, but the dislike I have of it is the James Gunness of the movie. And it does have somewhat to do with coming to the movie from things in the behind the scenes. So people coming to the movie with no clue of the behind the scenes. I'd say this about the Snow White movie too. I said it about it in my review that people that have no clue will come to it and they'll be like, it's okay, it's changed some stuff, and they'll give it a higher rating than people that know what a jerk, Rachel Zegler was. I think that's her name. The Snow White girl. But we're not reviewing Snow White, so let's go on. So, but there's just so much in the behind the scenes that irritate me and bothered me. Um, and then the there's this all over the place nature of things. People saying Silver Age, and then other people will go and say, "Oh, I noticed a bunch of Golden Age stuff," and I think it's just from all over the place. In fact, I look at and I can see um, drawings from all sorts of movies. Okay, and good or bad, that there's just a lot of drawings from the movies. Uh, I I'm not again the deepest aficionado of the comic books, um, so I don't know everything that's there. but I also know some things that probably are not there, and I challenge people to show me them in the comics when they're claiming, this is the comic books. So I'd love to see somebody prove some stuff, and we'll mention some of those things. Um, but I don't mind being thrown into the world, but we're thrown into the world in the exact way that people were criticizing we shouldn't be just a few years ago. Everything that goes. You got Man of Steel, say from just DC creating the universe. Not trying to compare the two at all, but DC creating the universe with Man of Steel, and the next movie, whatever it should have been, it became Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. You got Lex Luthor, and you know, you, several things being introduced, and trying to build the Justice League right away. And people criticized and said, "Oh, you can't do things like that." Well, here we don't even have any kind of movie beforehand, and we're going right into the building of the Justice Gang, the JG, Mr. James Gunn himself. That's one of those behind the scenes that really irritated me. It's like he put it on their lapels, JG,
So
right there, and then he said, "No, no, no, that's not what it is. This is the Justice League, and they're called Justice Gang throughout." And I'm like, well, okay, you shouldn't have said that. Just don't lie about things, and we'll be better off. But and I don't, like I said, I don't have necessarily a problem with that. But to me, the movie is all a type of Guardians of the Galaxy movie. It's all James Gunn, and there's there's either a like or a dislike toward that version of filmmaking. It's overly saturated in humor that takes away from um, the the meaningfulness of scenes and stuff like that. There's there It's not that the movie doesn't slow down too. It's packed with stuff going place to place. Uh, Part of my description of it would be an ADHD movie. It's for ADHD audiences, but the same audience isn't going to remember. It's not going to be impactful for them, from where I stand.
I feel a little
Um,
targeted right now. I felt a little targeted right now. I'm not gonna lie. I was like sitting over here. All of a sudden, I get a rock thrown in my face. I'm like, yeah, wait, hold on. Okay.
no, no. But let me see if I'm going to pull up a review. So I'm not the.
Something I did want to ask you about,
Mhm.
right? You were mentioning, and this is something that I actually remember pretty vividly because I've seen these movies pretty like a lot of times. I've watched the Snyder Cut several times, right? Where you were talking about the Batman v Superman and trying to build a Justice League right away in the Snyderverse. I don't think the problem was he was trying to build it right away. I think the problem was he was trying to allude to certain things like they did with Marvel and introduce stuff at the same time because they were doing both those things in those movies. You get what I'm saying? Because even in like the little like video you see of the Flash in Batman v Superman, like towards the
Mhm.
beginning, instead of just introducing him as a character, they kind of like alluded to it like they kind of did in Marvel, but they just sped right to the end instead of having the whole thing where they're building to it and then you pay off by seeing them in another movie. And I think the difference between this and the Superman movie is they didn't even do the build. They just had the characters there. Like when you're reading a comic book, right? And you see a character appear, does it have like a 2-page essay about where the character came from? Even in a comic book like the Rippaverse, characters will be introduced and there's no explanation on them. And sometimes they'll have their own comic books, but it's like I think the and you were also talking about people were saying that they don't want to do that. Like they don't want to be thrown into a world at an exact moment. But what type of people were saying that?
Mhm.
Was it comic book fans saying that, or was it just the normies saying that?
Well, it's the
And
comic book
that's
fans that are getting James Gunn comic book movie fans. So I
they're the
mean,
ones that were saying that. But you get
okay,
what I mean though, right?
yeah, I understand.
That's
So
that's my that's my
I
main
wasn't
thing.
trying to get into this. So, but the crowd that were trying to hold back from doing that. All right, and this is like an essay in itself of
Right.
that movement, but would have been like Man of Steel was a good start, and follow that up with say Man of Steel 2 or an introduction to some other whatever other character you're about to introduce into the movies and stuff like that. Um, and they were wanting to take it slower. The studio was pushing for something more, right? And and there was the criticism against doing the massive get Justice League in there as fast as possible, trying to do like Marvel did within 3 movies, show up
Right.
with the Justice League.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
was
and
the
I think
criticism
can
against
yeah.
it. And
And
that's
I
what
think we
I'm
can
saying.
both
It's
agree
like
it's
this
like
is like completely different. It's the criticism. It's the same people, similar
do you
people.
think they're doing
They're
the
like, no,
same
this is
thing?
the wrong way.
Right. Because I don't think they're doing the same thing. I think they're both definitely different. Like, I don't
I'm not
know.
even really trying to judge that. I can
Yeah.
tell they're not introducing it. They're telling you from the
So it's more
crawl
of
at the
like the people who
beginning.
are enjoying it now are the same people that were like, we don't want this.
Yeah, but let's let Don lay out his
Yeah,
case
sorry.
then.
I didn't mean to.
Yeah,
I didn't mean
yeah.
to
This is like
cut
a
you off. I was thinking
different
about
kind of
that. Sorry.
theory.
Yeah, yeah.
but
Continue your soliloquy. My fault.
yeah. But
So,
from the crawl, we're thrown into the movie. So you like Star Wars, you accept that and you go with the story that you're told, or you don't accept it and you say, I want to see all that stuff before. Um, but you know, I could go either direction with that. So like we could have the crawl could have been that there'd been metahumans and all that, and just done a beginning story of Superman when he introduced himself, rather than 3 years later too. It doesn't make a matter to me really because he chose to be 3 years later. Superman's 30 years old, so it's just a different Superman. We just don't know what happened before. As far as with where the editing comes into that, um, after watching it a few times, my position is it doesn't make a lot of sense for him to crash land and then have the healing moment and then leave not fully healed, not learning anything, and go to the same fight that we didn't get to see before. And and I've thought about it a few times. They could have saved a fight with the Hammer of Baravia for some time later on in the movie, and I think it would have played better, especially if you gave certain time to build characters and stuff like that. They give up, the Hammer of Baravia is gone after the first, scene. You know what I mean? He pulls off the helmet, he's Ultraman throughout the rest of the movie.
Okay. Yeah.
He
Okay. I
speaks
thought you were
while
gonna
he's
say it was
Hammer of
completely gone.
Baravia.
I was like,
Yeah, this is all weird stuff. This is just stuff that I'm like, what are you doing? He speaks when he's the Hammer of Baravia. He responds to Lex as the Hammer of Baravia. He never speaks again throughout the rest of the movie. He screams a couple times toward the end. Like, what? Why did you become mute after that? Doesn't make a lot of sense. I, when I saw the Hammer Bravia, just brief little things that they showed you in trailers and stuff, I was like, man, that's a great moment. That could be a great introduction to Lex Luthor's armor. In his way of fighting Superman. So I think that's a totally missed opportunity. To me, just completely missed. But I have some other criticism about that. But I've got this, so I'm not completely alone. um, and I'm not saying that I hate the movie. I hate missed opportunities, though. But my brother's review. Yeah, it's more or less what I was afraid it would be when I heard James Gunn was directing it. Didn't hate the movie, but didn't love it either. It's just a massive overcorrection of the problems with Man of Steel, which itself was an overcorrection of problems with Superman Returns. Though strangely, it still recycles some plot elements from Snyder's movies, when I would have expected them to say, been there, done that, let's move on. Warner Bros. Inability to learn from their mistakes amazes me. It's like Joss Whedon's Justice League all over again. Liked the cast mostly, hated the costume. Didn't care for the soundtrack. Fights run too long with Superman getting beat up and disrespected nonstop throughout. At least he does save some people occasionally. Humor constantly undercuts dramatic moments and prevents them from having any weight. Plot is weak and a little too crazy. Still, kids will probably like it. According to Brian Singer, Superman Returns was for the Devil Wears Prada crowd for some reason. Man of Steel was for the Dude Bros. James Gunn's movie is for Gen Z kids raised on TikTok. It's basically a Marvel movie with Superman in it. So the last word, basically a Marvel movie with Superman in it, is more what I'm uh, disliking about it. And I knew this from when James Gunn was being told he's going to come in and be the head of DC Studios. I was like, no, don't do that because he's all kinds of Marvel, and Marvel is headed completely in the wrong direction, and that's proven out since that announcement. So in fact, that same time frame is where John Campea said, "Hey, we're gonna not talk about any movies before this year." That was 2022, around there, and said the second highest opening for a superhero movie uh, is this movie. Like that's a low, low, low bar because the only thing above that's Deadpool, Wolverine, you know, and that's not really a good movie per se. It's fun, entertaining, and all that, and people enjoy it, and I have no real problem with it. But it really, it it's it just is. It's there and whatever. Um, but it's not like deep and impactful. It's where I would stand with that analysis. But yeah, it's a Marvel movie with Superman in it. It's not really a Superman movie. It's more like a Guardians of the Galaxy. It's what James Gunn is specializing in. He's putting out Peacemaker and uh, Creature Commandos. I mean, those are the
I didn't like
things
Creature
that are kind of
Commandos.
like the basis of this world that he's in. And I think my criticism of Superman himself is he's too, not in a strength necessarily way, but that may be too. But he's too weak. He's whiny. His 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 manner is just not Superman to me. Now, I actually grew up. I got some comics as a really little kid, but when I grew up was John Byrne's remake of Superman. And when John Byrne remade Superman, there was all the time he was getting hit with something, he didn't know what was happening, he was trying to figure it out, getting beat up, thrown into a building, into the ground, all kinds of stuff that he had to recover from. And he wasn't invincible in in the way that is talked about in older comics. So I'm not as familiar with those. I'm familiar with John Byrne's way of dealing with it, and um, so this Superman is weaker than even that, though. So, for example, Lex Luthor learning how Superman fights. There's just too much going on for Lex Luthor to have done it all. But Lex Luthor learning how Superman fights and creating, I think I heard 2,500 fight moves. Somebody said
Yeah, it was like
25,000, but I
yeah.
think it was 2,500. That's too many. Then he's got to train his dumb clone to remember all these fight moves and do them at some
Wasn't he being
point.
controlled?
Being controlled by being told what they were. And then
No,
he
people
had to
were
do
literally
them.
using joysticks and stuff like that in the room. Remember?
I don't think so. I think they were just controlling maybe those cameras and typing in and shouting out those same numbers. Now, that
Maybe.
could be. It could be
I guess
somebody
I don't
is
know.
somehow
I don't know.
controlling that.
Yeah,
But why would you be controlling a fight move with a joystick? You just put
I
it
don't know.
in, and therefore the computer would do it.
Hmm.
Uh, if that's the case, that's the case. But I don't. That doesn't make any sense really to me either way. And I look at it like a boxing match fighter. So like Superman fought against Muhammad Ali in the old comic books,
Oh yeah, back in like the
So,
'60s.
but if
Yeah,
you've got two fighters fighting each other, they're going to be trying to learn. each other's moves and stuff like that. So if you learn somebody's moves, that doesn't mean they're never going to hit you, never going to um, dodge an attack or anything like that. But that's how it plays out in the movie, and that receives a criticism from me. This is too much beating up. If he stopped his blows and hit back, you know, more of the time, like he did at the very end of the fight once they started getting done with it, then it would have made more sense. That makes him like a stupid Superman. He's like too dumb to realize that he needs to stop this man's way of
Yes.
fighting. That bothers me to have a
Okay.
stupid Superman. Um, that he couldn't figure out that they were watching him through these little floating UFOs doesn't make any sense at all. Superman always would be checking things out with his X-ray vision and seeing the tech involved and being like, "Oh, you're video cameraing me. I see what you're doing." I, it just doesn't make much sense. And Crypto didn't have to destroy them all. I mean, it gave Crypto a purpose in that fight though to destroy all the orbs. Um, but yeah, I mean that it, upon real examination, those things will fall apart, and a lot of things could have been moved or reused. So it's like I said, it's the missed opportunities thing and stuff like that. The stupid things in there, like I don't know, have probably 10,000 monkeys on computers in a pocket dimension that's uh, full of vortexes of black holes. That it's like, what are you thinking? The whole Minecraft area, they had to throw that in there to get Minecraft people to watch this movie in the pocket dimension. That's what that place was. 8-bit graphics for anti-proton river that somehow held Superman inside of it till it got to the a waterfall before the black hole. It didn't make any sense.
I got so
Those
many
kind of
things.
things don't make sense.
I got so many
Um,
thoughts. I got so many thoughts because it's
Let him cook. Let him finish. Let him
yeah. I'm gonna let
finish.
you
Let him
cook
finish.
because I'm thinking as you're. I'm like, okay,
yeah. Well,
interesting.
anyway, Lex Luthor
Because the stuff you're saying isn't
recreated the
ridiculous.
Big
So I'm like,
Bang. I mean, I could buy a lot of the things, but there was just too much of it in there that has no explanation. I mean, you got prisons that are just glass cubes, and people are in there for 3 days straight, out in the open with each other. Makes absolutely no sense to me. I've seen prisons, people keeping people prison in comic books, and they keep them in, prison cells and stuff. But I couldn't figure out who. I know about the girlfriend that was there in the pink, but I couldn't figure out who else was the other people in the prison. That may be a lack of comic book knowledge for me. There's maybe people that were supposed to be recognized. Um, but uh, and I don't mind necessarily no explanation for stuff. You got Mr. Handsome is there, uh, guiding the ship. It's like, okay, introduction. We'll see something maybe later, maybe you know. Um, but it's more or less those things that fall apart. So the stupid thing, the monkey bots, it could have been done by his little henchmen that were doing the fight moves. Uh, there's no reason for all that. And plus, most bots that are putting out these things are fake anyway. They're some kind of AI programming. So uh, it just there's a bunch of unnecessity for stuff like that. But how does he have time to do stuff like that? That's the real big question for Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor, I don't know. To me, he's a petulant, spoiled brat. So he wasn't really menacing to me. As closest he got to it was doing Russian roulette with the one character. And like, okay, this guy is actually vicious. No, he did something that okay, you're going to jail for the rest of your life for. But anyway, um, more uh, hypno glasses. They actually went there. They went there and confirmed it Guy Gardner's sitting there saying he wears hypno glasses, which distorts his face. Is not in the comic books. I challenge anybody to find it at all. In the Golden Age, in the early days, they went to a hypnosis to get Lois out of it. And then Superman used hypnosis on the kid 2 pages later, no hypno glasses. So there's no such thing as hypno glasses. I again challenge anybody to find it in the comic books. The story that was given did not show a comic book that had it. It showed those comics about hypnosis. And it was like one other time that he used hypnosis early on, and I think they got away from it because it was probably they probably got some letters about it saying shouldn't be doing that. Again, back in the 30s and 40s, they were actually I think it was the late 30s. But anyway, but I challenge anybody to find that. Um, what else? Confirming. Okay, so changing the lore of Krypton bothers me because I don't know of any except for Bad Dream version comics or um, I don't know of a version that they actually put out in the comics where Krypton was like that. It's like making Zod into his parents, and that is the opposite of every incarnation that I can think of. Um, so making it where they say take over the world, kill everybody that doesn't agree with you, doesn't follow you, and have a harem full of women is like that's not Jor-El and Laura. That's not Krypton. And if they had done it where he made it up, where he and the engineer had created that and they passed it off as true, and people too quickly believed it and turned against him for one thing. But if you gave it some time and said there's certain people that are disagreeing that think that that's true and other people don't think that it's true, and had that as a conflict, that might have been okay. But when they boiled it down and said we are confirming it. We confirmed it. They confirmed it. I counted 4 different times in the movie. With I think it was Lex Luthor, the last one, because the Baravian leader said this faking a message was a great idea. It's like you could have left it at that, but he says no, it's real. So that takes me out of it too. That it just prevents me from enjoying it and saying this is really a good Superman movie. So all the James Gunnisms and everything says James Superman's in the movie, but now the Superman is less than what he should be. And he's already 3 years in, so it's not like he and I could mock him, but I'm not going to do that. It's just he. Uh, it could have been different. Could have been better. I'm sure that David Cornsweet did the best he could in it, and I don't think he did a terrible job in the role. I just think that it was very poorly written for him. And I'm going to leave it at that and just have a whole bunch of notes to we can go over if you
So
like.
I will say, as the non Superman fan, before Ezekiel says anything, I went into this movie. You remember the first trailer? I was kind of excited. Then after that, we talked again, and I was like, I don't know. And I kept telling you, I don't know. I don't think this movie's gonna be good. I had the exact opposite feeling after I watched the movie, and here is the reason. All of the critiques you brought up, this is the thing I determined many years ago when reading comic books. This is a comic book. Flying men and laser beams. I can
Mm-hmm.
believe anything because it's a comic book. Anything can happen. A proton river that can hold Superman, absolutely I can believe that because it's a comic book. This is like I didn't have a problem with that.
I have less a problem with that.
Superman being beat up so much. I don't have a problem with that, and I'll tell you why. You're 3 years in as Superman. It's I don't have a problem with this for the same reason I didn't have a problem with the Batman. You're 3 years in as Superman. you haven't been doing this for a long time and you haven't been fighting a bunch of people. Lex Luthor is a genius. He is a genius. If he
Hmm.
said he studied Superman and he's got him dialed in, he's got him dialed in.
Hmm.
Clark Kent is not as smart as Lex Luthor. The only one you could compare to Lex Luthor in smarts is probably Mr. Terrific in the whole movie. Everybody else pales in comparison to Lex Luthor. Dude is a genius. So if you took Superman, if you're Superman and I take your DNA and I'm smarter than you and I create you but stronger, which is what he said. He said he's dumb, but he's stronger.
Hmm.
And I devised a way. I'm suspending regular normal world and I'm saying to myself, just making assumptions based on what I know in comic books. Lex Luthor must have put something in this clone's brain where when he said things, he automatically followed those commands. That's easy for me to believe. And I'm like, if you're watching this on camera and the movie accurately displayed just how much he hated Superman. One reviewer said, Lex cries too much. I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, have you ever been so ticked off that you wanted to knock somebody's head off? What do? You start dropping tears because you are so enraged, you don't know what else to do. And I'm like, I get it. I get it. I understood that. So I'm like, okay, I get why he's tearing up. He is so enraged at Superman. He cannot take the fact that this dude is getting all the shine when he's the biggest genius on the planet. That's what he feels like. And he acknowledged, I'm envious of this. So all of that I understood. So I'm watching it and I'm like, if I'm Lex Luthor and I create a clone of you and I've programmed all of these moves and you don't know that, oh, I'm beating your face in. There's nothing you can do. I created a clone that's stronger than you, and I know all your moves. Your face is getting beat in, and you don't even know what's going on. You have no idea where it's coming from. That's why that complaint, I'm like, that complaint doesn't make sense because I can understand why this would happen. I can believe that. If Superman is facing himself, but smarter and stronger, like what are we talking about? You have no chance.
Well, yeah, my caveat to that would be he's facing Lex Luthor through a video system though, because Lex Luthor's the one that has to give these commands,
This is
right?
true.
And that
This is true.
that again, it's not that he has all these commands, but that Superman never learns from it at all. Apparently, he's got to get rid of the cameras in order to be able to fight back, and he can't see what's happening, and dodge and block some of them, even though he does mostly get beat up. That would make more sense. The amount of it is just overwhelming, in my opinion. I don't see it. I think
Fair
Superman
point.
would be able to fight back, even if he's outmatched. Just like I think in a boxing match, you do the same kind of thing. You study your opponent, but you're not going to be able to
Right.
beat him every single time
Fair
or
point.
beat every moment of it.
Fair
Um,
point.
I,
I
I,
think what I
and that's
think
what I'm
what
saying.
James
It's
Gunn.
like the
Yeah, but
fight is okay, except for it's totally lopsided,
right.
and that lopsidedness says, okay, come on, you know, that's a
But
little too much.
I think what James Gunn was showing though, I guess this is where I actually understood what I was seeing. I'm watching a juvenile Superman. That's not thoughtful. That's not using his brain. That just started. So this is what I'm saying. Like if Superman just came to Metropolis today and faced Black Adam, homie about to get his face beat in. And that happened in the comic books. Homie is about to get his face straight up beat in. He's new. It's not because Superman's not strong enough, is that like Batman, right? In the Batman movie. In any other time, Batman with 10 years under his belt, these low life thugs would be lucky if they could even take a hair off his head. Batman would mop the floor with 15 people without a blink. But year one, year two, he's gonna get lumped up a little bit. He hasn't learned some of the lessons that he learned later on. And I think that's the approach And I think James Gunn displayed that's the approach he was taking. You can kind of see Superman was a lot more juvenile in his understanding of his role as Superman. And maybe it's because I'm not a Superman guy. I'll be honest with you. I don't like Superman. I think I told you this before. As a character, I've always thought Superman was boring. I have not been a fan. But this movie, I was like, I actually get it. But that may be to your point, that may be because I'm not a Superman guy. So
Yeah.
I'm willing to give leeway
Well,
where
and
most
to that
Superman fans.
also, there's not going to be a lot of people to go back to watch it again and again and again. So I'm noticing it over and over and over again as well.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's where ADHD will help the movie. Where people are like, "Whoa, whoa! It flipped the camera on me. I didn't see what happened." And
You
you
know what else
hardly see
ADHD
it.
helps? Extreme focus. Listen, Superman Volume. Oh my goodness. Superman Volume 1, number 330, 1978. This is where the hypno glasses first appeared. Now, they weren't technically hypno glasses. He was facing off against Spellbinder, and he ended up hypnotizing all of Metropolis to not be hypnotized to fall for Spellbinder's like spell or whatever, right? And then when he ended up
1978, number what?
number 330. And then
330.
when he ended up putting his glasses back on, nobody recognized him as Clark Kent when he was dressed up in his Clark Kent thing. But if he just had like his shirt open or his glasses off, people recognized him. And he literally says in his head, I guess that mental block. Let me see if I can find it. He said, I don't know what's going on, but if my secret identity is still secure, I might as well take advantage of the situation. Let me find it.
Now, where did you find?
I told you.
Is there
I
no? I
was
mean,
like,
is there like a website that I can
oh
pull
yeah,
up?
there's a here. I got if you check the chat right quick. I had this locked in.
This is Superman number
This is Superman number 330 from 1978.
330, 40
And it wasn't
years in.
really the glasses themselves that hypnotized people, but it was the fact that he didn't have them on when he was doing the hypnotization. And then it ended up becoming the thing where if he had the glasses on, people just saw him as a completely different person. Because at the time in the comic book I'm reading, Lana Lang knew who he was and knew that Superman was Clark Kent. Then when he put the glasses on, she was like, wait a minute, you look completely different. Like, I know you're the same person, but you look different. So that's where the hypno glasses thing came from.
Let's see.
It does exist. It's not just out of nowhere. Now the thing about his parents
still not a hypno
saying that
glasses though. If he's hypnotized them before, and it's just made it where he wears the glasses and it looks weird, that's a different thing.
I mean, it is, but that's
Because
wouldn't that
again, it's confirmed by Clark that he says, "Yeah, but the glasses." And Guy Gardner says he wears hypno glasses. They make da 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 da. There's a difference between saying he hypnotizes somebody and then wears the glasses. And this is probably one of those attempts at an excuse to say this is why he's not recognized while wearing these glasses. I am on Comics Archaeology. I think it's just trying to explain the comic. It's not actually showing it.
Yeah, no, I sent the link for the actual comic book in the chat.
Yeah, and I think this is one of those things where is like I said, especially as a non-Superman guy, right? Like even if I was a Superman guy, I could accept this because it's comic book.
Yeah.
Nothing to me, nothing is ridiculous in a comic book as long as it's done well. I can accept it.
I will
it's a
say
comic book.
one of the biggest things that I was noticing in a lot of your critiques, Don, is you were like, because another thing you said was like the movie wasn't impactful. What comic book movies are impactful outside of being a good comic book movie? Right? It's very few. Like very few.
They exist. They exist.
That original Superman.
Yeah,
it was impactful, but I'm just saying, like normally,
I'll take Man of Steel,
normally
Superman,
outside of like Superman, Man of Steel, and the Batman, you can't really name that many superhero. Whoa.
there's
Captain
a lot of
America,
them
the
Hold on.
first
Okay,
that
hold
Avenger.
on. Let me get my point across. Y'all double teaming
impactful.
me. This I feel like Iron Man right now. Hold on.
Gotcha.
Let me get my shot off. Right? There's movies you can name, obviously, but for the most part, even when you read a comic book, yes, there are comic book stories and comic books that are very impactful. But at the end of the day, it's dudes in tights fighting each other or figuring out different problems. Right? So when you're reading a comic book, do you have this level of discernment when you're like, huh? Batman or Superman did this really ridiculous thing. I'm not gonna like this. That's my that's my main thing, especially when you're trying to draw so much from a comic book, because the amount of ridiculous stuff that happens in comic books is
Mhm.
kind of crazy. There's a comic book where Batman literally has a villain called Bootface, and it's a dude that he kicks so hard in the face he has an indent of his boot. This was a New 52. Like, the ridiculous stuff like that happens in comic books. So is there no reason to have a pass for stuff like that in movies? Is that just movies just can't have unserious stuff? That's like
I
one of the
was
main things I was noticing, and I was like, well,
yeah, I was less saying that for like that makes it a bad movie is it's just going to be there and be thrown away. It'll be forgotten quickly.
yeah, but I think there's a lot of stuff, even stuff in comic books that are just like introduced and never thought of again. Like, okay,
I
John
agree.
Burns, even himself, he was talking about like, he actually also redid the introduction of how Krypton was set up in
Yep.
his run of Superman. He got a lot of flack for that back in the day, right? And he even talks about it where he was like, I was trying to have a reimagining to actually give it more character and to recharacterize how people saw the Kryptonians, right?
Hmm.
And he had to write how Kryptonite affected Superman differently. And he even said, okay, well, instead of his planet just blowing up, we'll have his planet blowing up from Kryptonite. That's why he's, a lot powerful to it. So I think there's a lot of stuff that people will do. And people will have like this different rating system when it comes to people making a new comic book versus people making a new comic book movie, right? Where they're like, oh, if they make something new and if it's, adheres to the character and it makes sense, it's still bad, right? Now, I'm not going to say, every new thing that somebody adds in from a comic movie is great, because a lot of times it isn't. We've seen the Batman. What was the one with George Clooney? I forget the name, but we've
Oh
seen a
my
few of
goodness!
those
Batman and
movies.
Don't
Robin.
even bring that up.
We've seen
What?
a few
Don't even
Batman
You're
and
bring
you're
that up.
about to
Robins.
get Batman and
We
Robin, George Clooney right back.
hold on,
That's
listen,
coming.
but we've
That's
seen
James
we've
Gunn's
seen
favorite.
the we've seen
He's
the
going right
2020
for it.
flashes, right?
I will not watch
Where
that.
there's a lot of
we will
movies where they
we
will
will be
add
brothers
That
in
in.
is your
arms on this,
next
Gary.
Batman, man.
Dust. We will be
No,
brothers in
that
arms
Flash
on this
movie.
one.
Oh my
I will
goodness!
not.
But you get what
You
I'm saying. Where there's things people will introduce in comic book movies that aren't good, and there's certain things introduced where it's like, oh, that's good. Like Harley Quinn didn't exist until Batman the Animated Series.
Yeah.
Most people don't know that. Like she wasn't a character, and she was so well received in the show, they added her to the comic books. So
hmm
that's not to say that like people can't add in good things to comic book movies. And I think like obviously, I don't like as a movie itself. I give Superman maybe like a seven, a seven, a low eight. Right. As a comic book movie, as a Superman comic book movie, I give it a nine. I thought it was pretty good. Just like the difference in how I would rate a movie like The Batman. The Batman as a standalone film, like its actual film aspects are a 10 out of 10 movie. And it's a 10 out of 10 Batman movie. But I don't think you should critique every superhero movie from like a film dude perspective, because then you get the whole Martin Scorsese, everything that Marvel's ever created is bad, right? I don't think everything Marvel's ever created is bad. I think especially in the first like 2 to 3 phases of MCU, it was some really great stuff. But as like standalone films, it's like, they were okay. And I think that people are critiquing Superman maybe too harshly, and there obviously are some that are critiquing it a little too softly too. But I don't think that everything in the movie is bad. Like the monkeys on the computers and pocket dimensions, I don't think that's a bad thing. And then you also did mention the fact that how does Lex Luthor have time to do all these things? Lex Luthor is a seventh level intellect. He's on the same par as Batman. Nobody asked if Batman has enough time to do this stuff, but Lex Luthor, who's literally in the public face doing all this crazy super scientific stuff, definitely would have time to do all this stuff. But I will say, me and my dad were talking about it, and we were saying that we have a theory that Lex Luthor got a lot of this stuff from Darkseid. But that's a whole separate conversation. But that would be that's a few things that I was like noticing you were talking about that I had written down where I'm like, okay, I don't know about this too much. But I wouldn't say it's a perfect movie. Like I think some of the gave to it pretty good, right? Not ridiculous. Like where I was talking about I think you're talking about it felt like Guardians of the Galaxy esque. I could see that a little bit, especially in a character like Guy Gardner. My one thing would be, what's a scene where the humor oversaturated a serious scene?
the well, it's all that it's that's that's commonplace in Marvel movies.
No, but
You have
I'm
a
talking
big
about
thing
the Superman
happening.
movie.
Okay,
Right.
big
They
things
did,
are
yeah. And
happening, and then a joke takes you out of it, takes away the weight
somebody
of
gets
it.
their
It's
head sliced
like
clean off. He's
that's
like,
what.
that looks like it hurt. That's
What was that now?
it's like you see a scene where somebody gets like their head like blown off, and he's like, I wouldn't have got that haircut or something like that. But it's like,
Yeah,
where in the
that would be
Superman
terrible.
movie do
We're
you
in the
see the
super
same thing?
over and over and over again.
Give me one scene.
The supposed well, okay. How do I work it? I don't want to work it backwards.
Yeah, sorry.
Because the first thing I thought of was at the end. And
The end.
you have Lex Luthor responding to Superman. So they let Superman's speech happen. And then Lex Luthor goes, "Oh, that's beautiful." And then I'm gonna kill you because I was given the right to do so. Da, 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 da. And then
Oh no,
boom,
crypto.
Crypto comes out and beats him up and throws him around like Hulk threw Loki around, somewhat,
Okay,
not
I'll concede to
exactly.
that scene. I'll because I remember that scene. I'll
Okay,
concede to that scene.
but
It was
that's at
kind of
the end.
ridiculous. He bit him in the crotch, right? What other scenes? Because I'm curious. Because I saw the movie. There
Yep.
was a few situations where I'm like, it's pretty funny, and there was like I think one other scene where I was like, I don't know if this fits, but how people are describing it, they're saying it like every single scene something happens, somebody cracks a joke, and it's like, oh my goodness, because you have that problem in
Okay.
Thor: Love and Blunder where that was actually happening in the movie.
He said Thor: Love and Thunder.
Did I not say
I
it
got a
right?
scene. I got a scene for you, Don, which is probably one of the ones you could say this for. When he's talking to Pa Kent, and they have that really good moment, and then his mother walks out and
Almost.
says, "Yeah, yes." I was like,
There's
ah, that
that.
kind of killed. That kind of
It,
killed that
it,
scene.
it
It
really
was,
does. It
yeah.
give it a little bit longer to breathe. And okay, beyond another scene. Just all this stuff off the top of my head. Should have gone through and thought about through the whole thing. But the time that's supposed to be meaningful throughout in Clark's apartment when Lois is there and starts talking to him, and the thing is going on in the background, which Superman calls a dimensional imp, which I wonder if it was a reference in saying that's Mr. Mixelplick, however you
Oh,
pronounce
Mixer
his
Mixer
name.
Pitalik. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
Mixias
See, y'all,
Pitalik is
y'all
how
deep in this.
John Burns says it
Mixer
is.
Pitalik. You know what? Low key,
Y'all
that
deep
would
in
be
the
crazy.
Superman lore with that. I
Would
don't know
That
nothing
would
about
be a
that.
be
crazy
interesting.
pull to
I
have
wouldn't
Mixer
mind.
Mixer Pitalik.
But
Yeah, no, it'd be
anyway,
cool.
it keeps on going on the outside. This big old bat flying around, donk, donk, and stuff like that. And it takes away from the seriousness of the conversation some. Or you're focused on the conversation so much you're not paying attention to what's going on outside the window. That could be a case too. Because I think
I don't know if that was a
the first time I
yeah.
watched it, I saw that it happened like a bat, and then I was like, oh, I'm paying attention to Superman and Lois. This is right in front of my face.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean, you could take it several different ways, but it's still there,
I don't know
and
if that would
people are
count as a
pointing it out.
comedic scene though. I think it counts as like a way of like world building where it's like these metahuman things happen all the time, right? Because where's the comedy in that scene where he said that's just a dimensional imp?
A big bat smacking him multiple times and donking
A
off
big
of it.
bat smacking him. I don't know if
Yeah,
that counts
Green
comedic
Lantern's
though.
got a
The
big
green.
bat going, what donk?
Yeah, but okay, that would be like saying every time the Green Lantern does like the big fist thing or a bat, it's funny. Like I don't think that was a comedic scene. I think that was a scene to kind of like
Some of that
one
is, yeah.
world build and kind of like explain like yeah, this metahuman stuff happens all the time, pretty often. It's not like a ridiculous thing in this world. I don't know if that would count as a comedic scene. The
Yeah,
other ones you
I'm
mentioned, I'm
fine
like, you
with
know what,
like you
completely
just said,
understandable.
fine with that, and fine with it showing. But on rewatching it, it is played loud enough where it keeps on like trying to get your attention,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm.
so I think that, like I said, the first time I saw it, I could smile at it and say, okay. And I went and focused on something, and then I heard somebody complain about it, and I'm going back. I'm like, oh yeah, they did really try to pull you back into that outside. Lois takes a look outside during the conversation and stuff like that, and I can see the criticism there.
Okay, but is it
I'm
enough?
less of a
Is it
critic.
enough to draw away from the actual movie? Like, is it
Well,
on
again,
a
this
scale of
is
1 to
like
10? What do you rate
building
it? On a scale of
over
1 to
and
10, what do you rate
over
it?
and over again. These things
My
keep
but
going
my
on.
So
Right. But my
Okay,
main thing is
let me
like,
speak. Let me speak as the non-Superman guy. I'll tell you what I took from that scene. I took Lois trying to reconcile. You're not gonna help these dudes? Like what's going on out there? And Superman's like, nah, they got that. That's not a big deal. And they continue with their conversation. And Lois is trying to reconcile. Wait, this looks pretty serious because you saw her look over again. And Superman's like, nah, they're fine. It kind of shows the competence of
Mhm.
the Justice Gang, which is crazy. and
And
that's what
this
I
is my
took from
point.
it.
This is my point again, is that people are taking it in different ways. So you're
Right.
taking it
yeah,
that particular way. I'm not really taking it where she's doing that again. She just gets a distraction out of it, and I can see it. I was able to pay attention to the conversation. I think that
right.
scene was meaningful for the characters and stuff like that. I think that that's part of the good part of the movie
Mhm.
is the um, some of the relationship building in that, and then around the Daily Planet and doing the reporting is some of the other stronger parts. Um, the hecticness of the movie and the action with Superman, which is the most of what he's doing anyway,
Mhm.
draws away from that. Now, there's several other moments, um, and I noticed this the first time. I don't like James Gunn's way of putting in music to play for action scenes and stuff like that. I don't like it, so I'm not for it. Um, I'll put up with it.
Right.
Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one probably did it the best, where I could deal with it and be like, okay, I'm good with that. But doing it again and again makes no sense. And the behind the scenes was he said he wasn't going to do that in this movie, and then lo and behold, he did it in one of the best action scenes of the movie, which again
I think I
has
know which one you're thinking
humor
of.
taken out of it. It was Mr. Terrific's scene with Lois. He puts her
Ooh.
in that bubble, and then the music ramps up really loud, but outside the bubble, and from watching it inside, there's tonks. There's all these little Looney Tune sounds going on with the fight. And
Yeah.
that takes me out of it. It's like, what are you doing with the Looney
Yep.
Tune sounds? You're
Right.
not
But
doing
that's an
that with
out. That's
anything else. It's with that.
but you're gonna read a like I think and I think maybe a lot of the issue is it's too comic booky as a movie, and maybe people are like, oh, this takes my immersion out of it because you read a comic book, you see a quackow or a kaboom or a swoosh
Mhm.
like middle of the page. Does that take your immersion out of that? And this is like my big thing where I'm like, yes, I think there's a lot of things because I wouldn't say this movie's
Well,
perfect,
a
right? I
krakow
don't think it's
or
a
a
perfect movie,
boom is like when
right? But
Superman
I'm
hits the ground and all the bricks
right,
are flying everywhere. Perfectly
but
fine.
I'm
But if
just
it said badunk instead on, if that sound was on the screen, I'd be like, no, that's not the sound you make when you hit bricks.
right, but I think the and my thing is I'm not saying the movie's perfect. I enjoyed the movie. I thought it was a good movie, and I appreciated the characterization of Superman as a human being, right? Because there's this comic book that I was thinking about from Batman to Superman, where Batman was saying one of the most important things about Superman is the one person on Earth that has all the right to not be human is the most human of us, right? And I think they really had that characterization of Superman very well. But I think the problem people are running into is they're judging this movie on a way harsher like thing than they would on just reading a comic book. Like obviously there are big things, but is it like if you had to rate all the things you had wrong with the movie on a scale of 1 to 10, well, where would they all rank? Right? It's like you're getting a bunch of things that are twos, and you're saying, yeah, this movie's an absolute bomb. It's a four. Like I'm not saying you're doing that, right? I think you probably have one of the more measured views of the movie, but there's a lot of people that are taking all these things and going like, yeah, this is a two as far as like how important it is. The movie sucks, and I'm like, okay, the movie doesn't suck. I think it's a pretty good movie. I think it's a pretty decent movie. I don't think it's a bad movie. And I'm not going to say it's perfect, but I think it's a lot better than people are saying. And I thought it was enjoyable. I'm going to be seeing it again, probably like 2 or 3 more times. But I'm on the air of like I'd much rather be more positive about the movie than negative because it seems like they at least want to go in a better comic book direction than the previous stuff. Like the Snyder stuff was great, but they also did a lot of stuff that I didn't like as well. Right? Like they had the whole Steppenwolf thing, no lanterns. They had the whole cyborg mother box thing.
Yeah, lanterns come in
No,
later in the story.
Yeah, well, it depends on what continuity we're talking about. Because in New 52, the
It's
Lanterns were there.
that's the
The
Snyder
Lanterns were.
continuity. So if we
That's
ever
okay.
were to
Well,
get Snyder to
yeah,
come back
but
and
I but
finish his movies in whatever form
it's
he
one of the
finished them,
things,
they would probably be
right?
amazing, and they would
I think it would
fulfill
be.
what you're trying to say.
I think it'd be okay, but I think there were a lot of things that Snyder was missing from his Justice League universe, right? Like the sync, the if you ever watched those animated DC movies from like 10 years ago, like
I don't
2014,
enough. I
2015.
watch them a few times, sometimes.
Right. You
So
remember the Justice League movie,
that's
the first one,
hmm.
where they all were kind of like, ah, man, dang, it's gonna be hard to explain. So in the original, and this takes from the New 52 a lot, right? That's like the continuity I know the most about in the widest berth.
Okay.
So in the New 52, whenever Darkseid shows up with the parademons and he's trying to find the anti-life equation, all the heroes find out at the same time. They end up all going to the same place and team up in that moment to figure out what's going on, right? You see them all draw off of each other. You see the Flash's reverence for Batman, and Batman actually respects the Flash, right? You see
Hmm.
Superman trying to figure out what type of hero Batman is. Everybody trying to figure out what type of hero Batman is. They're all kind of surprised the regular dude, right? But you see that back and forth between all of them, and you can tell that even though they haven't met before, it seems as though their chemistry is somewhat fluid, right? When you have Gal Gadot, no, Kal-El, no, Kal-El, no, or you have the Batman, Superman, like always fighting each other, always want to do different things, and obviously that does happen in the comic books too. But they seem to have a more solid front. Like if you ever watch or you ever read the Batman, Superman, Public Enemy storyline, yeah, they disagree about stuff, but the synchronicity of their teamwork makes sense. And I think the Snyderverse was missing that. Like, obviously, right? They teamed up for a few things, the whole type of move thing. It was great, but it didn't feel authentic. Do you get what I'm saying?
Not
I'd
sure.
I
I'd
feel like I
say
lost you. I
I'd
feel like I
say
lost
this
you. I feel
I'd
like I
say
lost you.
this I'd say the Snyder cut felt authentic. Now, if you're talking about the theatrical release when they
Yeah.
completely
Yeah.
chopped
Okay.
up Snyder's
Yeah. I will say the Snyder
the
cut did
Snyder
definitely feel
cut
authentic, but
definitely felt authentic.
I think the all around, like I'm talking about the universe, the Snyder universe as a whole, as it was, right? Obviously, that wasn't his fault, but this is what we got, right? I'm just kind
But
of like,
see, I won't. Here's the reason I won't judge Snyder harshly, because Snyder was fighting an uphill battle.
yeah,
There
yeah.
was a
Well,
lot of people. There was a lot of people fighting against his vision,
right.
and yet he still
Yeah.
was able. So I'll give him that. He
So I'm not saying it's bad, right? I'm not saying it's bad, but I think that Gunn is trying to create what Snyder was hindered from creating, and that's why I want to give them a little leeway. Because then you have the whole Black Adam bomb, which is a whole different story. But
Yeah, Black Adam. Black Adam could have been such a great movie. It wasn't. It wasn't terrible. I tell you what happened to Black Adam. The Rock is a great actor, but a terrible actor to put in a large IP because the movie becomes it was The Rock plays Black Adam. It wasn't Black Adam played by The Rock. And I think that's the problem you have when you have a guy of his caliber. He's a great actor. I'm not saying this because he's a bad actor. He's just so all consuming as an actor. Like when you get Denzel Washington to play a role, as much as I love Denzel, don't get me wrong, I love Denzel, but he's playing Denzel. It's Denzel playing Denzel in a Denzel movie. He's like, whatever script you wrote, welcome to Denzel's movie playing Denzel.
you got the
And I
Gladiator
think
movie
that,
where he's speaking the same way he does in all his
yeah,
movies.
like, welcome to a Denzel movie. And I think that was the problem that Black Adam went into. They got a big name, and The Rock fits the look. He fits the look of Black Adam, but it's just he just took over the movie. Like, I'm watching The Rock play The Rock in a Black Adam movie. Cool.
Yeah. Well, I think it doesn't help that Black Adam is a lower tier character too. That
Yeah.
I'm honestly I don't know much about the history of him, so I I go into that movie and think I'm just buying this movie for whatever it tells me about Black Adam,
Right.
and I can enjoy it in that. You know,
Hmm.
I see
um,
Black Adam as like reverse reverse Shazam, kind of like
Oh, that's
reverse
essentially what
yeah.
Flash.
he is. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's again
Yeah.
similar ideas. Shazam's not that well known by me, but um, I so I buy into the movies again, and I like
Right.
both of the
And
Shazam movies and Black Adam.
Yeah, those Sham
and
movies
that
are
that
really
may
good.
be why I like Superman. I like this Superman because
Mm,
I'm not that much of a Superman fan, like at all. Like I said, his
that
comic
could be
books are
my thing
boring.
too.
His
Well,
comic books are
I
boring.
wouldn't say that. I've been getting into them.
Yeah,
They're not.
I'm
Nah, you got to
sorry.
find the right one.
I'm
Because
sorry.
I'm like I'm coming to the realization throughout the conversation. I'm like maybe my apprehension, a lot of the things that I like about the movie are things that maybe Superman fans don't enjoy. Right, and I got to get more information on that because I didn't think it
That's kind of the
was.
feeling I got.
Yeah,
I
because
got the
as
feeling
I'm
that people who are not really Superman fans, and it
yeah.
might be that James Gunn made a comic booky movie, but a comic booky movie that the masses will like. Which in
Mm,
that case, if I'm Don, then I'm like, bro, what are
yeah,
you doing? What
yeah.
are you doing?
Yeah,
Like
because it seems like all the stuff
it's
that
not the
Don is
movie
saying
I'm looking
isn't
for.
like it isn't ridiculous. I'm
Well,
hearing a lot of ridiculous stuff about the movie, but Don is saying like actual like logical understanding of like the movie one, and then he's like, no, this is actually my problem. Like it's not bad, but I don't like this. I'm like, you know what? I'm he might be winning me over. I'm gonna be honest. I'm like I'm being galvanized right now.
well, and then like I said, I mean, I'll read that comic book a little later, but even just what I read about it was the exact same thing I was saying. Was it's not hypno glasses? It's that there's a
Right,
hypnotism that happens, and I
right.
get that. So don't. And this was I watched probably 50 to I don't probably more uh, different review people reviewing the
Mm.
movie. And some people will mention something and say that they like it, and the same person somewhere else that likes, dislikes to the same degree the movie in total will be the opposite on that exact same point. So there's that a lot going on. But there's certain people that came out and said, "Oh, that is comic book canon." That's the word that was used. I'm like,
Mm.
no, it's not. That's
It's
where
like
I
Canon
like
Light. It's like
that's
Canon
not
Light.
true.
Yeah.
Well, so that I would say, okay, you got something with hypnotism and glasses. That's the best you could do. You could say it the same way though, and they don't do it that way. They just, I think it was a complete misunderstanding of James Gunn and whoever told him. I forget the guy's name now, Tim something, and he never really looked it up, and he just said, oh, I'm going to go ahead and put that in my movie, and now it's a canon thing.
That's a possibility. I think it's a pretty high
Same
possibility.
thing with the monkey bots. Is a reviewer
That
said
comic
that is
accurate?
comic book canon. I'm like, no, it's not.
I didn't know. I don't think that's crazy. Saying that's
Yeah,
crazy. 'Cause I was
I've
like
never
looking into
heard
that a
of it.
little bit. Yeah, I thought it
Um,
was funny. I thought it was a funny bit. To be honest, I like that bit pretty
And I
much.
guess from my standpoint,
there was
I
something else
stand
that I just can't remember besides the Kryptonian change.
That was not canon. I thought it
Again,
was. This research today, not canon. They
yeah,
added that in.
and it
That was
would
new.
have been, like I said, it would have played for everybody if they made it ambiguous. But they came right back and said, no, it was confirmed by these guys. It's
but
terrific. These guys
They
would
could do
never
a
say
Disney
that it was
I
true
tell
switcheroo
if
where
you,
they
they
did.
change it in
no,
the next movie.
I know. I'm telling you,
They
I'm gonna
were
tell you what I think.
adamant about it.
I'm gonna tell you what I think happened, and this is the reason why I say I think James Gunn created a movie for comic book readers for this reason. Just because Lex Luthor said it was legit, I didn't believe that.
But Mr. Terrific said it was
Right.
legit too.
Hold on.
Exactly.
I got one for you. I got one for you. What did he put in the engineer?
Nanites.
So if she was to recreate that message and to make it where it was authentic, who would be able to say it wasn't?
Exactly. But then
Ooh.
he said, yeah, it's not fake. And that was where it blew it up. Was like, come on,
He's
you
what
could
I'm
have
co-star
I'm
just
Mr.
saying,
Terrific.
leave it
but
ambiguous. Not when
what
he's
I'm
telling the world, but when he tells the Moravian guy. He said, no, I didn't
because
fake it.
he's Lex
I just happened
Luthor.
to find it.
That's it. You can't believe Lex Luthor because his mouth is moving.
Well, you got to understand too. Lex Luthor didn't tell her to recreate it and fake anything. You know.
But what I'm saying is, what if she did and even he didn't know it?
hmm
And this is what I'm saying. As a comic book
Again,
reader,
I'm on your
that,
side with it. I wish
that's
they'd
where
have
my
played
mind
it that
goes.
way. If
So
they'd
But
have
what
come
there
if
out and
is
said they got a certain number of computer experts to do it, said they didn't
so
prove that they
something
got them to
something
do
just
it,
came across my desk just now.
but
and
what if they
several
do
other things.
that next? That's kind of
Something
what I was getting
something
at.
just came across my desk just now. I'm
Okay.
thinking, right? Because we were talking about this the other day, Mr. Thinker. Dark Side is involved, and the nanotech lady was actually from Apocalypse, and them kind of using all this stuff to make people not trust Superman as much would make him leave and make Darkseid coming to this planet and taking the anti-life equation a lot easier.
Well, no, it said in a movie she was special ops. She was from here, but
Well,
I'm
again,
my
that's the
theory.
backstory.
Yeah,
Yeah,
my theory is Luther got help from Darkseid. That's
that I
my
believe.
theory. That's my theory because I think James Gunn did pull a lot of what Snyder was already doing because that's what happened in the Snyderverse. Lex Luthor was pretty much calling out to Darkseid. He found out about Darkseid, however he did that, never was really
Steppenwolf.
flushed out. Yeah. But I mean it was never fully flushed out how he got to that point. He didn't really get a chance to flush all of that out. Neither here nor there. But
Hmm.
I do believe James Gunn is. I mean, he biting. He jacking from Snyder, which I'm not mad. If that's something you jack from Snyder, I'm not mad at that at all.
And I
And
saw
that's
little elements from all kinds of movies, like cloning
right.
Superman from his hairs, taken straight from Superman 4, to create
I've
Solar Man, whatever his name is,
I've learned
Ultraman,
Nuclear
I've
Man.
learned I've
Yeah, make
learned
him.
I've learned
Why
to
make him
accept that.
Ultraman
Well,
instead of
because
somebody
in
else?
Crisis on Infinite Earth, well, yeah, I was confused about that too because we said Ultraman. I'm like, so there's a few things I was going through my head when that happened because I know Ultraman's the alternate version of Superman that's powered by kryptonite. So whenever somebody was like, "Oh, what are we going to do about the kryptonite problem that's not on this planet?" When Lex Luthor said, "Oh, I have a fix for that," I thought he had his own store he was powering his Ultraman person with. That's what I
Yeah.
thought. But now I'm like, yeah, why did he name him Ultraman? A little
but
weird.
Yeah, but
the
instead
thing
he's a bizarro type of character, which would make. I mean, that would lead into something, but it seems to be wasting Ultraman. Call him something else. I don't know. Let him
That
be the
I think
hammer.
that's a fair
Let him be
critique.
the
I think it's
Hammer
a fair critique.
Baravia through the whole movie. Why do you even need him to be announced to the government as part of your team? You don't even need that. Just the Raptors and the engineer could have been your team. Let Ultraman, just let him stay in that uniform and let him be the Hammer Baravia throughout the entire movie. That would have made some sense to me too.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
then his
yeah.
armor gets picked off of him, and you say, "Oh, what? This is a Superman clone." And somehow he becomes Bizarro later on. Would be fine. I think he's dead, because I think the
Nah,
Superman universe is probably dead.
I don't think he's dead. But
Oh man.
I tell you what I tell you why I didn't have a problem with any of that. And I have grown to accept this from this angle. I'm reading Ultimate Spider-Man right now. Ultimate Spider-Man, other than Spider-Man, Peter Parker being Spider-Man, really changes everything about how he became Spider-Man. Well, I guess when he became Spider-Man, how all of that played out. It's an alternate universe. I'm okay with that. But there's other books where things have been changed, like a writer will come in, take some leeway, change some things, and I'm like, all right, I'll accept it, I'll allow it, and that's happened throughout comic book history. There's always some writer that comes in, changes something, adds something from somewhere else. The movie universes, I'm like within the past couple months, my mind has been changing on this. The movie universes are extensions of that,
Hmm.
right? This is a writer. If James Gunn wrote a Superman comic book and said, I'm gonna write my comic book in this way and change some things around, people might not like it. They might think, I don't like this angle of the story, but they'd be okay with the things being changed around. It's different writers doing some different things. As long as you keep the integrity of the character. Now, what I will give people, and I definitely understand, we're not used to seeing Superman get beat up like this. Like it's not the symbol we look for from Superman. And I honestly understand those critiques. Though I was able to understand why he did it in this way. If I was a Superman fan, that would have been off-putting for me right out the gate. Like, why you got my boy getting beat up like this? Like, yeah, he takes some lumps from some people, but not like this. Like, he's getting
Hmm.
smacked around the whole
Yeah,
movie.
the
Like, what
first bit
kind
of
of
the movie,
Superman?
it's like, yeah, he
Yeah,
just
like
lost his
what kind of
first fight.
Superman movie is this?
Yeah.
And I think
He's
that's fair. I
also
think that's
he's
fair.
not connecting the dots and stuff like that too. The Hammer
Something,
Bravia, he thinks that there's something wrong with it. I mean, they come out real quick with Bravia saying we have no connection with this Hammer Bravia. Like, why would you do that? It doesn't make much sense to me either. Let him, that could have been part of the Baravian storyline was that they had a way to fight back Superman, so he shouldn't interfere with their sovereignty again, or something like that. It would have made more
yeah.
sense. There's a whole lot to that, but the things flying around him were then flying around Ultraman, and the engineer, and Superman knew that the engineer was with Lex. So, I mean, he should have been able to see the two things flying around. But wait a minute,
He did
you,
figure it out
you,
eventually though. But something I will say that kind of makes me a little mad sometimes, and I know you probably know this, Don. Superman's a ninth level intellect. Bro is unironically one of the smartest people in the universe, and that's not really epitomized a lot of times in the movies,
hmm
right? Because even the Henry Cavill Superman, but he wasn't really clocking for him all that much either for a lot of like stuff that he would deal with, like the whole Lex Luthor using him to fight Batman instead of just telling Batman, "Hey, we should team up against Lex Luthor because he's one of the smartest people on the planet." He was like, "I guess I'll fight Batman." You know?
Well, I see it a little different than that, but I don't go
I guess
to
that's
the
fair. I guess
extreme
that's
of
fair.
saying he's all that smart. But I do I know what you mean, but I don't
Yeah,
know. I don't know which comics I would go for. Like I said, I read John Burns, and
yeah.
John Byrne has
Superman's
this thing where Lex Luthor would be more intellectually uh, formidable to that Superman, but he didn't
mm,
have a Fortress of Solitude and stuff like that. He didn't go and do experiments and stuff like that. That's that Silver Age before it, for sure. Um, and yeah, you wouldn't see that. I think one of the things I don't like about people's critiques is something like we don't need to see the Superman origin story because we've seen it so many times, and they are thinking about all kinds of cartoons and all kinds of TV shows and stuff like that because there's only been Superman and Man of Steel. Those are the two origin stories of Superman that we've seen
did
on
we
the
not
big
get it with the
screen.
Christopher Reeves one?
That's Superman.
Yeah, yeah,
That's the
that's what
first
Oh,
that's what I'm
one.
talking about.
Superman. I
Yeah,
was
that's
I
what I'm
was
talking
Yeah,
like,
about.
because
so
I know
there's
we didn't get it
no
with Superman Returns.
no origin story with this one. Yeah, because
Now,
Superman
and
Returns was supposed to be Christopher Reeve continued, and then they're like, well, we can't keep doing this for
Dom, and
various reasons.
I'm surprised you actually had good things to say about Superman Returns. I remember we talked about that. I actually walked out the theater when I went to
In
see that. I remember.
2006, huh? Yeah.
Yeah, I walked out the theater. I got up
I
and
didn't
walked
think
out
it,
the
I didn't think
theater.
it was that bad. Ray Palmer's Superman was pretty good. I
It's
liked
not
it.
that Ray
Is
Palmer wasn't a good Superman. I
Brandon
just
Routh?
or
Yeah,
yeah,
no, he plays
whatever.
Ray Palmer in a different
Yeah, I
show.
know.
That's why I said
Yeah.
that.
I shows you what I know about. I did not like that movie at all. I walked out. I think it
It's
was
very dark.
45 minutes in,
Oh, yeah, he
45
steals his
minutes.
kid and
Really,
his wife.
man.
Yeah, I walked out. I did not like that
I
movie.
think
Never watched it
I
again.
think if they had given you the actual version that still needs to come out, with him being at Krypton at the beginning
The one
instead of
that
just
J.J.
saying he went.
Abrams,
No,
the
no,
one
no,
that J.J. Abrams wrote.
no. This is the Bryan Singer Superman Returns.
Okay.
He's at Krypton, and it's all destroyed. Like he says in the movie, he tried to go find it and it was all destroyed, but they thought it would, you know, survived or whatever. Um, but yeah, there's a whole scene that really gets you into the movie that way instead of trying to
Right.
tell you about it. I I I think I have a problem with a lot of movies that just try to tell you how to get into a movie. This is what's
Show don't
going on
tell.
and it's gone. Star Wars is kind of the exception to that. It's just telling you a backstory and then you go into a movie and you're introduced to everything. But when the Crawl tries to tell you how you're supposed to feel about stuff. Like, nah, it doesn't really necessarily work for me.
Yeah, I can.
Um,
I definitely get that.
but I'd have to try to remember back to a lot of movies to see it. I don't mind being thrown into a world. There's a movie that I love called Masters of the Universe, and they just throw you into it.
You
Oh,
talking about
that
the
sounds
original?
familiar.
That original He-Man
Masters of the
movie?
Universe, He-Man. Yep.
Man, that you went way back. You went way back.
And I enjoy the movie, but looking forward to the new He-Man. Just they're
I
gonna
am.
bring it
See
to
where that
Earth,
goes.
and that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
They got
I'm
a
looking
whole
forward
world
to
to
the new
build around them.
Voltron.
Oh, there's a new
Voltron.
I'm looking forward to
I'm
Voltron.
looking
Voltron.
for Voltron.
Yeah,
It's
Henry
coming
Cavill.
soon.
Henry
Henry
Cavill
Cavill.
plays the
Henry
Voltron.
Cavill. Oh, he's probably gonna be.
That's why he couldn't be Ultraman.
Because I didn't. I'm gonna be honest. I watched that Netflix series they had. It was good for about 3 seasons, and those last two, it
I didn't
was.
watch
Yeah.
it. I
You
started
saved
and it
yourself
just never
Bunch
because
of
it was
newer
really
never
good.
stuff is
finished it.
just like,
It'll
but
start off really good, and they're kind of just like, let's just start throwing anything in this. I'm like, who wrote this? Please.
But after hearing Don's critiques and your retorts, I understand why it's so divided. I understand. And I think the disconnect is non-Superman fans or new Superman fans versus OGs. The OG Superman fans are like, what did you just do? And people like me are like,
mm,
I've always been bored by Superman. So that like what the reason I like the Man of Steel is because I've never seen Superman with edge. And Man of Steel was like, oh, I like this guy. I like this. The reason I like this movie is because I was entertained from the beginning of the movie to the end of it. I was not bored. And at like I picked up Absolute Superman #1. 2 pages in, I did this right here. Yep, this is why I don't buy Superman books.
I
Great.
haven't looked at it.
I am not a Superman guy. I'm just there's something about his character that is it's one dimensional to me. And it's always been that way. And I cannot, my brain will not allow me to be a super. And I know to all you Superman fans out there, you're probably collectively cringing right now. I can see you typing in my comments right now. I can hear you. I hear your keyboards going. I get it. I get it. I would feel the same way if you said that about Batman. My head would explode. But I am
And
just
and you've read the
and
Man of Steel series, right, from John Byrne?
I've never read fully through it. I
Oh,
think I
you
actually
should.
have a couple of them that I bought back in the day, and I don't know if I finished it because when I got into comic books, of course everybody knows Superman. I'm excited. I'm into comic books. I started with X-Men, and then I bought hardware from DC Milestone, and then I moved to some other books. Image came out, so I was like, "Oh snap, Superman! This is the guy!" And I opened it, and I was like, "Why is this the guy?" Like literally, why is this? No, I read Batman and I was like, oh, Batman's greatest hero ever. I see, I understand, I get it. Superman and I think maybe that's what James Gunn was doing. He was trying to attract because there's more of me than there are of you. You know what I mean? There's more people like me that don't really know anything about not a Superman fan like that than there are of Superman fans. And maybe that was his gamble. Like I'm gonna try to attract people that don't necessarily follow Superman like that. But I don't know because Rob Liefeld, who is a Superman guy, he said he loved this movie.
Yeah, I'm
Rob from
confused about
Comics
that too.
Rob from Comics Explained. Now I don't know many people online that know more about comics than Rob from Comics Explained. And that's just being honest. That dude is a comic book encyclopedia backwards and forward, and he loved the movie. So that has me conflicted. Like,
I think they're both more Marvel guys. And I think that would be my explanation.
yeah. I agree with you. I agree with you. Yeah, Rob is
See,
definitely
this
more
is
of a Marvel guy, but
And
this
I'll
is
give
crazy.
that to you entirely. That the more Marvel uh, enjoyment you have, the more you're gonna like this Superman in this
that
version.
may be
But I'm a
I
DC guy though.
Okay, but do you love the Marvel movies?
They're okay.
They're okay.
They're all
Okay.
right. Like if I had to rate them as movies, I think like the highest I give one's like maybe an 8.
Okay.
That's crazy talk to me.
Well, it's like they're great
It's
comic book movies, but like I'm a film guy, so like as a film, like the highest I give one of them is like an 8, and I think that's Winter
Captain
Soldier.
Yeah.
America: The First Avenger.
I give
I
Winter
still
Man,
Soldier.
think
The
this
first Avenger I
holds.
give as a movie like a 6, but as a comic movie, it's a 10. But like as purely as a movie, it's all right. It's pretty good.
Which one? The first Avengers movie?
No, I give the 8. I give to Winter Soldier.
Oh, okay.
Winter Soldier was.
I
That
think
was a
that I think that was probably the
that was
best
a
movie they've
banger.
done, like as like an actual just
Civil
movie.
War was a banger too. Civil War
Well,
was a banger.
and I enjoy a lot of those movies. So, but
Yeah.
let's go away from that. So I do have another criticism for the Superman movie.
Uh-oh.
Okay, here we go.
It's about to be
That
a
may or
doozy.
may not be enjoyed by I don't know how many people, but the message from Paul Kent is terrible. It's just not. It's not good.
What about it? It's terrible.
The whole thing is actually, if you actually
You gotta
listen to what he's
specify.
saying,
I
it's
did.
bad. But the acting of it is not good in itself. Just the pausing, the slow talk. His eyes cannot figure out where to land on Clark on the cue cards. It's reading his line. I don't know, but his eyes are
Oh, I know the
flashing
exact.
back and forth so
I know the
fast.
exact. No, because yeah, you might be right. Because like his eyes were doing this number, like back and forth,
They were back
like
and
before
forth.
that scene came.
You
I do
rarely
remember
see
that because
something that fast.
I mentioned something to the person I was sitting by. I'm like, why is his eyes doing that? Yeah, that's
I mean,
fair.
he just and
That
it
was hilarious.
keeps happening too. I thought he would stop at some point, but his message is, uh, parents aren't for telling their children, what life is about is and what you're supposed to be or what you're supposed to do, and the actual statement that's just made could be manipulated in some people's minds to be like, yeah, parents aren't really controlling your destiny or something like that. That's not what he said, though. He's like, you don't even
Mm.
tell your children how things need to turn out. No, that's a big part of parenting. Huge part of parenting. And then he said, your choices. I'm trying to remember how exactly he said.
He
Um,
says, "Your choices, Clark. Your actions. That's what makes you who you are."
your choices, your actions. That's what makes you who you are. That is not true. That's not what makes you who you are. Now you change some words around and maybe that might be true. That may show who you are and stuff like that. That reveals who you are. The very first part of it, you get a little bit in there. The way you interpreted that message says more about you than whoever sent you and stuff like that. I could go from that and take it somewhere. But I didn't even like the characterization of Mom and Pa Kent. It's never been like that. My characterization of it would be Smallville and John Snyder and Ed O'Toole. Um, in the movies, the best that I would say there is Kevin Costner's and Diane Lane, because that's the only one you have through most of the movie anyway. Um, but again, there's not a lot to choose from that. But I would go to Smallville as a characterization, and I've never seen it played that way. He obviously was playing them as redneck hicks that were
I mean, they're from
dismissible.
right, but they're from Smallville, a
Uh,
small southern. So like
yeah, I've seen
you grew up around small southern people. That's
every other iteration of them was better than
yeah.
that.
That was
Every single one.
probably. I will say that was probably a creative choice on James Gunn's part.
Yeah, but it's
Because
not in
even
the
in like the
comics
current continuity
anywhere.
now, they're not really like the frail, like
They,
southern people. Like they're southern, but they're like it's obviously different.
I didn't mind the parents. The thing about the parents that was off putting, it was kind of like they were retards.
That's what
And
I'm
I didn't
saying.
like, yeah,
That's where
I
I'm
didn't
going
like
with it.
that. Yeah,
the,
I didn't
the
like that.
scene where she's yelling into the phone.
At the phone, yeah. I didn't like that. Yeah.
That's
I
just
was
an
like,
old person thing, though.
but you didn't have to do
And
like it was a little overboard. I'll give you that.
okay, and so
Still enjoyed it though.
your dislike toward that point of it would be in opposition to somebody else that said it was perfect. It was exactly how they should have been played. And
Nah,
I'll disagree really strongly with them saying that, and I'll agree with what you're saying that it was off putting.
and I'll tell you how it fits though. And this is why I gave it a pass. Again, I'm when I looked at this movie, and this is why I say this was a movie written for comic book readers. And this is the reason I say that. When I'm reading a comic book, I'm reading lines and I'm thinking about what came before and what could possibly come after and what this means. I'm broader implications. So when I'm looking at the silliness and Superman's inability to figure things out, I'm like, oh, look who raised him. I get it. Like he was raised by simple people. So now he's in a broader world. Now his mind is being broadened and he's thinking more, but that's going to take some time because he was raised by simple people in
Hmm.
a simple place. That was the way it was portrayed. So again, even though I don't like the fact that the parents were portrayed that way, it made sense in the movie with how Superman's thought process was working because these are the people who raised him.
Hmm.
So I
Well,
got
yeah.
that.
I mean, my counter to that would be reading Birthright. Superman Birthright kind of portrays that um, uh, from the perspective of the paw, that he's frustrated because his son is so much more than he is. He's gone out into the world and he's studied abroad and all this other stuff, and so he's much more sophisticated, as it were. Not that he's this character. I'm just saying it
Right.
Right.
shows that
No, I know
idea
what you mean.
that he's beyond him, and then the struggle that exists in that. But this is just more as like, yeah, they're there. They're really throwaway, you know. It and a lot of this movie has that feel to it. It's just throwaway. I'm not even getting into the Jimmy Olsen issues. Just
Oh, you didn't like
Oh.
Jimmy Olsen?
I probably know why he didn't like Jimmy Olsen.
I like and dislike it because the idea is hasn't. I don't know. I'm not a huge like into Jimmy Olsen to figure out everything about him, right? So he doesn't have to play a big part in it. He was fine as far as doing the part of actually being a reporter and being part of that. But the idea that every woman in the world apparently is fawning over him for no particularly known reason, um, it started off being off putting just with that.
Mm.
Okay. And somebody said that was from All Star Superman somehow. The only thing I read in All Star Superman is kind of some weird reference toward that. And I'd have to see it again to actually be able to point it
See,
out.
I didn't even know that.
There's just something just minor. I want to say it's where it's in the first six comic books, and he's like taking over for whoever. Um, the smart guy, right? For a few days, and there's something in all of those um, in that tech world that I'm talking about. It's within the first six because I have the first six. I know I've read all of them, but I have the first six and I reread it recently, and it's just a blurb in there that he did something and it made a bunch of girls like him. So you'd have to check it out. But it's in All Star Superman.
Interesting.
Um, but yeah, I mean, there's no real explanation. I guess the reason why they're trying to say that these girls are interested in him is to set up that Eve Tessmacher was already involved with him. But then he's got a whole phone full, uh, like Ted Danson from Cheers, Black Book. Got a girl for every day of the year. Yeah,
I did think that was kind of weird because I've been watching what's it, Superman and Lois, and he's in
okay.
that too, but that's not really the characterization that he has. So I'm like, okay,
Yeah, I've
interesting.
never seen it characterized this way. Usually he's, well, I mean,
Just his best friend. That's
his best friend, or he's just a photographer in the paper,
yeah.
or something like that. Again, Smallville, carries it out a little bit more. So
Yeah.
it's more to, but that's a different character than you saw in
Off topic, on
movies.
topic. I would like to know what your opinion would be on Superman and Lois. I don't know if you've seen it. I started watching it. I thought it
Hmm.
was pretty good. But as a Superman fan, I'd be curious because a lot of people
Yeah.
like that one.
Well, I need to get the seasons,
Mm,
basically on Blu-ray because I started watching it, but I was watching it um the way it was coming on was like I guess it was on CW, so I
yeah.
could see it occasionally, but you couldn't watch
Mm.
it for long, and then it would go away. So if I didn't catch it in that time, I was missing
It
stuff.
just wasn't going on. Yeah.
Yeah, at one point I hated the outfit because it was far too stuffed, and it didn't look real. It didn't look like his
Mm,
muscularity was there because you
yeah.
saw him in his um what do you call that stuff? The farm outfit, the plaid shirts
Overalls. Yeah. The plaid shirts.
and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And then you could see what his actual build is. And then you saw him in the Superman's like he's all puffed up. And the things that I was disliking, I was like, no, that looks bad. That just looks terrible.
Mm. She
Um,
got a buffer dude to play him.
it could have been that, or I mean, he didn't look bad. I thought when I saw the Supergirl
Oh, the
crossovers,
Supergirl show. Yeah.
and I thought
I
that he built himself up beyond that toward
yeah.
this show, but
Because she was also in
it
like
was
the
just
DC
the
crossover events too.
obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
just
The
the
obvious where
obvious
you're like,
padding.
they're putting muscles in this suit. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, this doesn't
Uh,
look very good. And then I think the S got smaller at one point, but I can dismiss things like that because I enjoy uh, the new Adventures of Superman, Clark and Lois with Dean
oh,
Cain and Terry
the
Hatcher.
yeah. Okay.
I enjoy
Interesting.
that, and they were changing the suit a lot, trying to figure it out for a
Yeah. Do you ever
while.
end up
I was
watching
like,
the
whatever.
old animated Superman show?
I have it, I believe, but I haven't
That's the
spent
because
the
that's the
time to
version of
watch it.
Superman I recognize the most.
Right.
That like iteration because I think that one's pretty good too. But I'm also not like a big Superman guy, so I'm like very curious to what like a seasoned Superman fan would think of something like that. Because as a
Hmm.
Batman fan, I have my own apprehensions about certain things from like the Batman universe, and it's like it's always interesting what the comic book people will think versus people who aren't necessarily more invested in that.
Yeah.
And
Well,
it's
and
what we were talking
and
about
for
with like
what
the
I
difference in the
saw
movie.
for it's Lois and Clark and Lois. What is it?
You talking about the new cartoon that came out?
Superman and Lois? No, I'm talking about the
Oh, the
series
new
you just
show,
asked me.
Superman and
Oh,
Lois,
oh,
wasn't it?
Superman and Lois. Yeah, yeah,
Superman and
Superman
Lois.
and Lois.
What I saw of it, I was fine with it. It was,
Mm.
it's like a TV show, and yeah, I heard a lot of people really like it, and good special effects and everything else. So it's probably this generation's, Smallville, basically.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
Hmm.
same,
But then
same
they cut
channel.
it short. Now here's my problem.
Yeah.
There's this is another reason why I have this problem with this Superman is that James Gunn decided he was going to cut off all other types of Superman. Said we're cutting everything. It's all done. It's all just going to be one DCU. It's all one. There's no Superman except my Superman. That's it. But he's allowing there to be two Batmans. He doesn't necessarily want it.
Well, that's because the Batman is one of the greatest comic book movies in the last 10 years.
Could be
Well,
that.
actually, when did Logan come out?
And okay, so you're gonna see the contrast between the Batman and the new George Clooney version of
Mm.
Batman Robin.
I'm gonna
You
be
God,
know,
so
don't
honest. If
don't wish
James
that on
Gunn
me.
ruins Batman, he's gonna not have a job for 20 years. He's not working nowhere for 20 years. Because do
And
we
this
see,
even
and
who
and this
it's
this may
take
reveal.
that
This may
feeling
reveal.
and
it,
look.
look,
Right.
I'm gonna be honest, Don, in a few years, that Batman Brave and the Bold comes out and it's hot garbage. I'll call you personally and be like, you know what? Wasn't familiar with
What?
your
How can we get rid
expertise,
of
but you
James
you were
Gunn?
right. You were right. That's,
This is where I think it'll come out, and I think it might be even. I think it would be less divided if you can't. And this, I'm saying this right now, you can't do a hokey Batman. You not in movies. It wouldn't
Hmm.
work.
There's a
And
lot
and
of
that's something
people like
and
that
that's
Burt
something that's
Ward
been
and Adam West Batman.
I love that Batman. I
I do
love
too.
that. I
But I
can
would
watch that
hate
show
to
right
see
now.
a new version of that as a movie.
Yeah, you can't. You can't. Even if you did a TV show, you can't do that. You cannot do that. Like Batman is so synonymous with the darkness of Gotham that it would be like this is not Batman. And
What about
I
Lego
wonder if
Batman?
I wonder if I was a Superman fan, if that's how I would have looked at this movie.
Mm.
That's what I'm wondering. Like as a Superman fan, if I would look at this movie and go, bro, what was this? But then I'm confused because there's prominent, like legitimate Superman fans that are liking the movie. I've seen several videos, people that I'm not really familiar with, but they're, you know, self-proclaimed Superman people. You know, this is what
Hmm.
they like. They like the movie, so I'm like, I'm confused. The
Yeah.
Batman, the Batman, even amongst Batman fans, there were things about it they're like, you know, I didn't like this, but Batman fans, I think, generally understood this was an accurate depiction of Batman, even if you don't like what's his name? I can't even remember his name now.
Robert
That was playing
Pattinson.
Robert Pattinson.
Don't forget
Pattinson.
about
Even
the
if you
goat.
don't like Rob, I will say he was too a little too frail even for a new Batman. But I was willing and able to suspend that, like I said, because it's a comic book
So
movie. Yeah, I can
that's
suspend that.
Well,
connected, disconnected. Apparently, some people were trying to like toward like kind of push him into taking PEDs to get bigger, and he publicly said he's not going to be doing that. And I'm like, you know what?
I respect that.
I gotta
Yeah, I
respect because
respect
he
that.
was pretty big, but he
yeah.
wasn't like the you know the
You
Ben
knew
Affleck
Christian Bale.
jacked.
He well,
Yeah,
I can't
Christian
say I
Bale.
know Christian Bale was on something, but it seemed like
He either
that.
has like really good muscle bellies or hey, he's got pharmaceutical help. It was
Yeah, because
pretty.
he was pretty big. He
So
got
was Batfleck. As much as I didn't like Batfleck, that dude
yeah,
was
but
giant.
Ben Affleck is kind of a stocky dude in general, though. I can
He's
believe
already
he
that.
can
He
get that
well,
big. Yeah,
he's
Yeah,
gotten to that. Yeah. If you watch
yeah.
The
I
Town, you
can
know he's already was
right,
like a
already
brick
strong,
house.
right.
Okay,
Yeah, that's
all
what I
right.
said.
and he's
I can
big.
believe he could
He's
be.
6'4", I think 6'3".
Is he
Oh,
six
he's
four?
taller than
He's
Lord
taller
Batman.
than.
What the heck?
I knew he was taller than
Mm,
Lord. I think somebody said he was taller than Lord Batman. I have
okay.
to look. I can't remember. It might have
Because
been
Lord Batman is like
Comics
6'1"
Explained.
and Lord Superman is like 6'3".
I will say
Hmm.
this. I did not realize just how like massive of a dude Corn Sweat is. And there were certain scenes where I was like, this dude is actually really big, a lot bigger than I thought, like tall and wider than I thought. Not as wide as Cavill, but definitely a
He's also
lot
like
bigger than I
3 inches
thought.
taller than Cavill, and he weighs
Yeah.
more because he went from like 190 to 240. 2 inches taller than Cavill?
Yeah, I'm pretty
That
sure.
was? Yeah.
Because there was a big thing trying to say that Cavill was going to be Ultraman because the toy was, that 2 inches shorter
That
version.
would have been crazy. That would have been insane.
Well, some people thought it was for a second because
Well,
he
especially with
looks
the
like
hair.
him. He has a look
Yeah.
like him though. He's well, I've said before, he's dollar store general version of
That's
Cavill. So
As
hilarious.
much as I had to agree, you are right. Because I look, doesn't matter what movies aside, Henry Cavill is what everybody imagines when they picture Superman. His face,
Facts.
his build. I can't even deny
Facts.
it. Like David Corson did a great job as a portrayal, but when I think of Superman, Cavill's whole entire persona enters my brain to this day.
mm.
It
That's
was
a fact.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I was looking for in multiple viewings was trying to figure out the size of David
It's 3 inches.
Cornsweat.
Henry
yeah,
Cavill is
he's 6'4".
6.5 feet tall, and David Cornsweat is 6'4".
Yeah, something like that. But
Yeah,
yeah, as I look at like I said, I mean, I was looking and he I don't really know what results he got from the gym is the thing,
So
you know?
if you look at his his like character in Twister versus what he looked like in Superman, he was like 190 in Twister. He was in Superman, he was like 240. They had to like resize the whole suit.
Mhm.
He
Well, I
got pretty big.
understand. And one or both of y'all said there's a broaderness to Cavill's upper build at least,
It's also because he's a little shorter, so he fills out a little easier.
I don't know if
Mhm.
it's that, but I mean, I don't care about the 2 inches. So,
I guess that's fine. Yeah.
but but I see the broaderness at the top. There's just you can put them side by side and just say, yeah,
Oh
just
yeah,
like
has
you
wider
said, there's that.
clavicles.
And
Yeah,
the suit did him no favors whatsoever. The the
I'll agree to
argument
that. I'll agree to that.
scene when he's in the shirt, that was where I was like, oh, I can kind of see his muscles. Even though it's a loose fitting shirt, I can see his build, his chest build and stuff. But he just I my my copyrighted phrase. He's dad bod Superman, and
The
What?
the suit
you will
Dad bod
actually
see. You keep
Superman.
watching. Look at his belly. A lot of times, it pokes out a whole bunch of scenes. His chest isn't barreling out, and it's just not. It doesn't have that same shape as
Same like
Superman
imposing silhouette
comics,
as Cavill's.
yeah.
right?
And
And
I
I
will
think
say, yeah, the
it
suit
would be
wasn't as good as the
fine.
Cavill suit.
Yeah, and it would really be perfectly fine. I just don't think David Cornsweat's build would be that way. But I said that when he got hired in the first place was like
Hmm.
he doesn't have the already built-in structure to
Something
get
that
to the shape of Superman. Because Henry
right,
Cavill will say he's not in Superman shape. He's much smaller and in between things, and he has to go to the gym to get back to that bulk.
right.
And
Something
I'm
about
like,
Cavill
I
that kind
get
of
that.
helps him is he has wider clavicles. One, but Cavill used to be a fat kid. Like
Hmm.
Cavill, he talks about this a lot. He used to be way bigger, so it's like probably a little easier for him to pack on size than somebody like a
Yeah.
David Cornsweater, which is kind of
And I've
you
never
know railed
seen,
thin for a bit.
yeah, I've never seen the evidence of that. I think he was more like chubby than he was like fat.
Well, yeah, yeah,
The picture that comes to my mind is the Goonies, and I, I think it's Chubbs in the Goonies.
such a good
That guy
movie.
got tired of getting picked on and turned into a
yeah.
Yeah,
bodybuilder, and there's a
lost weight.
huge difference between. But I don't think of Cavill that way because I've seen his earlier movies like the Count of
Right.
Monte Cristo and stuff like that, where he just looks normal. Um, so I think he was just a little bit overweight, and people picked on him for it more
Yeah.
than
Well, yeah, it
anything.
was definitely when he
Yeah.
was younger, but I mean,
But
his muscle bones are rounder too than David Cornswell. So it's like, yeah, I think your point of like, especially the suit. I will say that was one of the things where I was like, man, the suit is kind of like it's not really hugging the silhouette of David Cornsweat as much as the one
yeah,
that Cavill
And
had. Even
he
the
was big
Christopher
enough.
Reeves one
hmm
Yeah,
was
and
he could have
Corn
done
Sweat was
great with a Christopher Reeve leotard. I mean, it would probably
yeah,
look great on him.
yeah,
Corn Sweat was big enough that if they would have done a more fitting suit, that would have added a lot to him as Superman. Because everything else about him, I will say, his acting was standout with what he had as Superman. I like Corn Sweat as Superman. I think he worked, and I think you could plug him in like I think you could plug him in to a Snyder Superman with that same feel and a different costume, and you'd be like, okay, I can go with this. I can go with this dude. I think that goes a long way. I will say, and this I will give this to everybody who has this criticism. I will give this to you. I believe Snyder's vision should have been allowed to be carried out.
Hmm.
And I part of me thinks that James Gunn he felt slighted for being canceled, the whole Marvel thing being canceled coming back, and he wanted to make a statement. And I can see that. Somebody made that argument and I was like, I can see that. I can definitely see that him wanting to make a statement now, being head of DC. Where do you think it goes from here? Do you think this will be good enough to relaunch the DC universe, or do you think it falls flat after this?
Okay, so this is where I was going earlier was with it before, where James Gunn was just saying no Superman but mine, canceling the Superman and Lois show and stuff like that, just everything. And but still, coming back just a little bit later and say, okay, we're gonna have these Elseworlds and stuff. Well, if you're gonna have Elseworlds, man, just go ahead and put it in there. Tyrone Magnus said in his last video that I watched, he said if you allowed, uh, not necessarily Snyder, but you allowed the Snyderverse to continue, Justice Leagues and stuff, and you allowed Henry Cavill and whatever crew that was going to be to take over Superman from the Man of Steel version and continue in the way that they were going to go, like with McQuarrie's script, or even something else, then it would draw in all those fans that want that. And then you would have this Superman for all the fans that want this, and don't want the other one. And then the ones that would like both filmmakers that don't hate one or the other, you know,
Yeah, you'd be printing
you
money.
would be just, yeah, you would just be getting more and more and more and more. Oh, it's confusing to the regular moviegoer. No, it's really not at all. I think
Yeah.
you can tell the
I
difference between the two people. So it there's no excuse to not do it that I can think of as any kind of legitimate or logical. Uh, so it should have been done that way. It could be done that way. They could say, "Hey, this is just somebody in the high ups of DC, Zaslav or something could watch that Tyrone Magnus clip and say, "Oh yeah, we could just print money. That'd be great. That'd be a wonderful idea." And I think, having watched Rebel Moon as many times as I watched it, both versions of it, and seeing what Zack Snyder did with that amount of money in two, well, actually four movies that he made, was like, wow, that's the special effects for that and the flawlessness of it, whether you like the movie or not, the effects of it and the creation of it all is amazing. And that could be done and implemented toward these things. So does why did Superman from James Gunn cost $360+ million to make? And they don't want you to admit it, but it's true. So why did it do that?
yeah, I
It
think
shouldn't. That should be five different movies instead. And I don't see it on the screen. There are problems with the CGI in various places and stuff. So where'd the money go toward? Somebody said it was shills on YouTube and stuff like that. And buying stuff. Now I will tell you
The
this though.
monkeys buying the
This
monkeys to type the stuff.
yeah, they're buying monkeys, huh? They're training them right now. But no. The it's This is what bothers me about it. The lies that go into stuff really bug me because they're trying now to say how well this is doing in the theaters by lying about it. And if they didn't lie, that would be fine. But they're doing it by lies, and that
and
bugs
you
me.
know what, I think as well. I don't know. Clearly, there are going to be some movies that are going to be standouts, but I don't know if we ever get to the level of income production from movies that we did before COVID. Because I've noticed there's a lot of movies that, like, I think it was that Mission Impossible. How well did that do? Because I think a lot of people said that
It's
that movie
Pretty
was
good.
good, but
it's
I don't think
sort
like
of doing fine, but they say it cost 400 million. Which again, why did it cost four
what.
hundred
Yeah,
million dollars?
I think the cost of movies has to go down, and I'm with
Yeah,
you. When I see, I'll tell you what proves this to me. Apple TV Plus, they have a show. I just did a video the other day on this. Isaac Asimov's Foundation, which people complain it's not exactly like the book. I just bought the book. I'm gonna see, how well it is. But that's not the point. The point is the special effects and the things they do in this show. And I'm with you with Rebel Moon. I watched Rebel Moon and I was like, I could easily see this in a theater and these special effects would hold up in
mm-hmm.
IMAX. Like this is very well done. I can't remember. I don't know if you remember the exact cost of Rebel Moon, what it
I don't.
was.
I
I
could
don't
try to
remember the
look it
exact.
up, but I think for both of them, it was under. It's under 400 million. I know for sure.
Yeah, that's and I think I think there needs to be more creative ways to make movies, and like this what I don't understand. Why are the marketing campaigns, why do they cost so much
Oh,
money? If I this
let me just interrupt.
you
Yeah,
got yeah,
166 million for both
that's great. That's great.
combined
That's
budget.
I mean
Wait for
that's
the Rebel Moon movies.
Yeah,
yeah, that's what it
Dang,
should
I'm not
be.
gonna lie,
I looked up
he's
Top
scamming
Gun.
someone.
Top Gun, $170 million for Top
Top
Gun
Gun Maverick,
Maverick,
that was a great
and that was
movie.
That
probably
was a
That
good
was
seventy
such a
movie.
million
great
dollars for Tom Cruise.
yeah, yeah. But I think there needs to be an adjustment. And I think this is going to be one of those areas. And to me, the real reason why streaming services are winning, they're not winning across the board, but as far as like the entertainment that's being produced, I find more movies on streaming services that I'm like, wow, this is made for streaming. It's actually, this is pretty good. Like, what the heck is going
Yeah.
on? I think Hollywood budgets are over bloated, and
Hmm.
they put so much into marketing campaigns in the age of social media. Why are you spending so much on a marketing campaign?
Who
Like,
knows?
if I'm like, let's say I do Superman Man of Steel, you know what I'm gonna do? Henry Cavill, I'm gonna pay you an extra million to go out, create some social media posts, talk to some people, go on some podcasts, and promote the movie.
Hmm.
Done.
That's what Timothy
Done.
Chalamet did for that. What's that biopic he did?
Um,
Oh man, I
it's
forget the
Bob
name.
Dylan.
Bob Dylan. That's what
Unknown,
he did for the
complete
Bob
unknown.
Dylan biopic. Yeah, he did
That's
a lot of
like
those.
I don't understand what like they'll say like yeah it was 250 million for the marketing campaign and I'm like what
Yeah, what
you
did
could
you
have got like
spend it on?
that is crazy to me, that is
It's a money
crazy.
laundering scheme.
You
Yeah.
get to it, get the big known at like for instance this Superman movie, right? I think they said the marketing campaign 200 something million or something like that. Okay, Corn
Hmm.
Sweat, he's your Superman, right? Get him to go on as many podcasts as possible. Send him to as many countries as possible. Pay him 2 million to do this over 6 months before the movie comes out. Have him popping up everywhere, just everywhere. That's all the marketing you need. That's literally all the marketing you need. You don't got to do
Yeah.
anything else. And if you got a big name, if you got a Tom Cruise, hey Tom, we gonna pay you a cool 4 million. Would you just go around for the next, I don't know, 6 months, do all kind of
Here,
different things to
here's the
market this
thing,
movie?
though. You actually have to have a good movie to make the money back. Anyway, like Top Gun Maverick, I don't remember the marketing for it, but I do. I do remember seeing some marketing and saying, "I'm gonna go." But it was such a good movie, and it had the flavor that real moviegoers in most of America like. That it, of course, made 1.5, billion dollars on 170 million. So I don't think they expected that, but if they would make more movies of that flavor, they're going to make that kind of money back, and that's where the 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 flops are coming in now. So like Jurassic World is being like Rebirth is being put down as not good, but that's critics. Have been doing that for a while, and the movies have been making $1 billion. This movie is right in line with the other movies. It's a little bit less than the other movies at this moment in time, as far as its box office, both domestic and all. So it may go on to make $1 billion or more, just like the other Jurassic Worlds. Who knows? We just have to watch. But to me, it's not necessarily as good of a movie for a variety of reasons.
I haven't seen it.
But it was enjoyable. Um, I mean, if you like the other ones, you should probably watch this one.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
So
I mean,
I want to I want to see it.
there's a lot of movies that I've like seen the past few years where like either A, a lot of people didn't watch it, or B, people said it was worse than it was, and it actually wasn't that bad. Like the Craven movie wasn't a bad movie. I don't
mm,
know. I don't know like what other movie people were seeing. I don't think it was bad. I don't think it was bad. It was all right. It
I
was it was
watched
a fun movie.
the
It was
first
a
eight
fun movie.
minutes. I was like, "This is a great movie," and then it quit.
I don't think it was that bad.
I
I don't think
think
it was
Ant
that
Man and the
bad.
Wasp: Quantumania
I don't
was a
think that was
good
that bad
movie.
either. I think it was
It
a pretty
made
decent
me
movie. Yeah.
believe that Kang was a worthy villain. Like I was ready to see Kang straight up destroy the Marvel universe. I was ready for that. And then,
So I had a different perspective on Kang as he was portrayed in the movie, but in the end scene with a bunch of Kangs, I was like, okay, yeah, he's about to do what you just said. I could see him formidable in that way. I didn't like it very much through the movie. The movie was okay to me though. I was all right with it, and I didn't listen to a lot of the criticisms for it. But but as far as like this movie, or I should say, um, maybe we listen to stuff too much, but the the stuff behind the scenes bugs me because I'm part of it too. Like I said with Snow White, I have published my review of Snow White because I'm trying to make sure that they know it's there, and 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 maybe one day they'll forget about me because I don't know how they're doing it. But I published my review for Snow White more than 30 times because they keep taking it down. And so they show the audience score as 70 something percent or whatever it is. And then if you look at the all audience, which supposedly has all these jerks that don't watch the movie and rate it low, it's much lower.
Hmm.
Um, And so, I keep publishing mine because I'm like, why in the world are you not allowing me to publish mine? They kept up Jurassic World Rebirth for it. They kept up F1. They kept up all these other ones, but they're taking down my Superman review. Like,
That's weird.
why are you doing that? Why would you take down my
Yeah, that's
Superman
kind of
review?
weird.
yeah.
And then they're saying 96% positive. Like, yeah, because you're taking down reviews that show a negative look, and you're
I s-
claiming they're not verified as well.
yeah,
You
I
know.
still say it's a good movie. I think Superman is a good movie. And I think it's a good movie for this reason. I'll say for this reason. It was fun. It was enjoyable. At no point was I bored. I didn't think the script was all over the place. I disagree with that. And I'll tell you,
I don't
I'll
think
tell you
there
my
was
evidence
much
of
of a
that.
script.
I tell you my evidence of that. I took
I
I
was
took
not like
Brooklyn
that.
to see it because she didn't see it. She wanted to. So I said, "Were you able to follow the script?" Yes, I understood everything that was going on and it all flowed. I understood from point to point what was happening. I said, "Did you feel like it was all over the place and loose?" She was like, "No, at no point did I feel that." Now, she is outside of the comic book review, Tyrone Magnus, Nerdrotic. Brooklyn doesn't know any of that.
Hmm.
Not a comic book person. She's completely removed from that world. If you can get a person like that to really, and I could tell, I'm looking at her and I'm like, oh, she's into this movie. It's a good movie. Now, as a guy who likes Superman, I might say, nah, this falls short. But I'm again, because I'm doing a lot more reviews online and I'm looking at a lot more movies and shows and doing a lot more of this stuff. I'm beginning to start to think if I was a director, I'm directing Superman right now. What am I going for? I want to please comic book fans. I do. If I please every comic book fan, this movie is going to flop. Because I'm going to tell you what I've noticed.
Yeah, you
And
can't
I
do that.
noticed this. I noticed this as a Marvel guy. So um let's use Captain America, right? Falcon becomes Captain America in the comic book. This is comic book accurate. That doesn't work in a movie though. And I realize this. I'm like, they should have never had him take over the mantle as Captain America. Captain America should have just told him, hey, you now lead the Avengers as the Falcon. I believe you have what it takes to be the symbol, what people are looking for in a leader for the Avengers. That would have worked. Captain America Brave New World should have been a Falcon movie. I think it would have done way better. And I realized in that moment, I was like, oh, man, things from the comic book don't really always translate well on the big screen. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
work. It doesn't work. And I'm telling you, there was no way, in my opinion, there's no way they were gonna make Falcon taking over as Captain America work on the big screen. It was never gonna work. It was never gonna work.
Mm.
And they should have never done that. And that's why I stepped back and I said, you know what? I think I need to give some of these directors a little more grace, because even as a comic book guy, I'm beginning to realize some of this stuff doesn't translate well to the big screen,
Yeah.
and you can't make it translate to the big screen well.
Well, and I think that to me is more. And other people have done this. I think even the beginning of Marvel was this way. Um, that Man of Steel and Zack Snyder and the others that were beginning to create movies in that world were doing it. It's like we're creating the world. This is our world. The character is you get certain things that make the character, and you put the character into this world, and we're going to tell this story, and we'll throw little homages here and there
To the
to
comic
the
book.
comic book. We're not going to
Right.
recreate
Mm.
any comic book. If you try to recreate a comic book, you're asking for trouble because of exactly that.
Yeah.
You're just not going to please
It's not
everybody.
gonna work.
Please
Yeah.
Yeah.
just homage those comic books. And
Right.
in the DC universe, there's so much that to me is homages to comic book imagery and stuff like that.
Right.
And there's I think that's undeniable, and people from all sides should have admitted this if they haven't done it already. Is this that Zack Snyder was very good at that, and um,
Absolutely.
remains so.
Absolutely.
In this Superman movie, there's very I mean I'm looking for it too, but there's very little that's like that's iconic. Superman drawn from the comics reminds me of these heroic things, and the closest that it gets to it, it very quickly changes from it, and that's again my criticism. Is the missed moments, the things that are possibly out of place or throwaway stuff. To me, it just going back to Ultraman is just sort of throwaway. Now you've thrown away Ultraman, unless you come out again and say Ultraman. Then you're going to have the people that watch the movies say, "Wait a minute, you already did this guy Ultraman. What do you? This is
I
a new
think something
Ultraman." Da, da,
happened
da,
in
da.
Marvel with what was it, the Mandarin, where they had
Yeah,
introduced the Mandarin
people
earlier on
hated
in
that.
Iron Man 2. And then the actual
I
Mandarin was introduced with Shen-Chi and the Ten Rings. And you're like, wait a minute, there's two Mandarins?
Was the actual
yeah.
Mandarin? See, I didn't pay enough attention to that there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
that
I
that
do know
that
about the backlash of that. They tried to fix it and sending him to jail, and the Mandarin met with the actor in jail, and in a Marvel short, you know, which not every Marvel person's gonna watch. So
right.
like you
Miss
can't do that way. Well, you
Yeah, so
can, but then you're I think that may have been part of that directional thing where they're letting stuff in. They were letting stuff into Marvel, but Marvel's gone haywire, and I think that the Brave New World should have been a Hulk movie. But I don't think they
would have
know what to
worked.
do with Hulk because of She
Yeah, would
Hulk, and I'm glad
would have
they
worked
are
as a
leaving
Hulk
Hulk
movie.
alone for now.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. You know what I think needs to happen, and I've said this before with Marvel. It's hard to do because I think it's this incessant need to keep trying to fix something, and I think what they need to do, parlay 2 or 3 years, just a complete parlay.
Talk about
Like,
Marvel?
yeah, like
I bet.
we're gonna. I'll say this: if Fantastic Four doesn't work, if it's not good, then this is the one opportunity Marvel is gonna have to say, okay, we got to parlay. We got to parlay and go back to the drawing board. And I think I'll tell you another thing, because I've been thinking about this a lot the past 4 or 5 days. I would much rather. and maybe this is just the comic book guy thing. I would much rather just don't pre-announce movies. Just drop them out of nowhere. Just develop your plot, your story, and then just have a movie come out. Don't pre-announce to me, here's phase 1, 2, and 3. We're gonna have, don't tell me any of that. Just out of nowhere, tell me so and so movie's coming out and allude to the next movie in a, post-credit scene or something like that. Leave me guessing. Because I think kind of what's happening is we're overloaded with information and expectations. And I honestly think a lot of that is actually killing some of these movies. Because if you announce, now this is as a Marvel guy, if you announce 4 movies in advance, I got a lot of comic book lore I know. So you got my mind reeling on what's coming. And when that doesn't come, you're gonna have a problem. Because
Mm-hmm.
now you get guys like me. People typically know on my channel, y'all know when me and Don go over these things, this is the only time you're gonna get any kind of I guess negative focus from me because I don't do this on my channel. I don't have the energy to focus on things I don't like. I don't care to at all. If Fantastic Four is bad, you'll never hear me mention that movie on this channel. It will not come up. It will not come up. You
What
won't
if
hear me
somebody in a
mention it.
comment section is like, "Hey, what do you think about Fantastic Four?"
I'll say, "Did you see it?" Yeah, I did too. And that'll be it. There's comic books like I think most of my viewers know now. If there's a really popular comic book that I did not go over at all, it's probably because I didn't like it. And I have no energy to go over things I don't like. Because I don't want to be a rage channel. I want to cover things, interesting things, and things I love. Because I think a lot of people are looking for that. But with that said, I think if, like I said, when you announce 4 movies in advance, okay, for those guys, who listen to my videos, watch my channel, that have wondered what I thought about some movies, this will be the only time you're gonna get it. Eternals, trash, hot, hot
I remember when I
garbage,
saw that movie. I'll never get that
hot
$20 back.
garbage. How do you have such an iconic beings in Marvel and just completely destroy that? The Dark Phoenix saga. How dare you try to do that in one movie? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? That's like Infinity Saga level story. You can't tell that story in one movie. So this is why I say
No, you went quiet for a moment. You said, "This is what I
I
can
thought
say."
that
can you
was I thought that was me. I thought that was
can you
me. I
hear
thought
me?
my
Can
internet.
you hear me
Yeah,
now?
I thought my
Can you
internet
hear
gave
I
up
hear
for a
you
second. I'm
now.
like,
Yeah.
Yeah, so it came out on a video because I can see my audio, but I was just saying, stop pre-announcing what's next because I think that it puts pressure on the studios and you put expectations on the people that know these stories and now they have things built up in their head
Mm-hmm.
because you talk about you know um what's the new Avengers coming out
Doomsday.
Doomsday
Mm-hmm.
and not Secret War.
Yeah, the Secret Wars coming out
Secret
sometime.
Secret Wars. Bro, these are stories I know. I got
Yeah.
expectations.
Yeah, they can't do that
Now
in
I
just
got
one movie.
expectations. If you
Uh,
didn't tell me what was coming and you dropped these movies, I might give you some leeway because I'd be excited like, "Oh, snap. I didn't know this was coming next and now oh, okay, yeah, this is good."
yeah.
I think there's several things that they're doing lately. Personally, these are like I said, people watch my chat. This is the only time you get to hear my gripes. You're not gonna hear them after this. I don't want to know what's coming next. Surprise me and make it good. Because if you, Don, if you tell me I'm creating a story and here's the whole layout and then this is what's next and that's what's next, now I got expectations.
Yeah.
If you just write a book and give me a story, I'm like, oh, that was good. Oh, this is the next one. Oh man, that was good. I like the way you. But once you build me up and build up my excitement and to give me details, and you don't live up to those details, now I'm gonna say, yeah, this is garbage.
Yeah.
You built me up to this, and now this is what I got. This guy, I don't like this.
Yeah. I think the only response to that I could have would be to say they did Civil War, they did Age of Ultron, and they did it. They did both of them in just the one movie, and they did it a certain way, which
It was done
makes it,
well.
yeah, makes it work. And
Yeah.
like you're saying, you tell them, I don't know, I don't remember all this back then. Carson may remember better. He'd be good to have in here talking about all the behind the scenes because he'd go behind the scenes, and that is a detriment sometimes. Is going behind the scenes and learning a bunch of stuff because the average moviegoer isn't exactly not doing that, and they are just saying, "Oh, this just dropped here. Okay, I'm gonna watch this. I like the last Marvel movie. I'll go watch this one and stuff like that." Or they didn't like the last Marvel movie, so they're hesitant to go see it, or something like that.
Right.
And um, that might be a really good idea. Is just to do that, or like I said, I mean the way to do that then would be to have a few comic book advisors that are really steeped in comic book
Yo,
lore and say, you're hired to be able to talk to our writers.
that's a smart idea. That's a really smart idea because I think if they had something like a Rob from Comics Explained, like a comic Drake, that'd be a good idea. I know that James Gunn at least has talks frequently with Jim Lee. Um,
Sure.
The
And
problem with
but
James
that,
Gunn
again,
claims he's this great comic book
again,
student of
I had to
Superman.
bring
And
that.
when
I
I
had to bring
watch
that
this,
in
I'm like,
there. I had
what?
to bring that in there
I
just a
hate
little
to say this.
bit.
Again, this will be the people who watch my channel are going to see a rare version of me. I love Jim Lee. To me, he's one of the best artists to ever touch a pencil. That dude is destroying DC. I don't know.
Is
I
he?
don't know what he's smoking in that front office. I don't know what he's on. I don't know what he's doing. Like now, there's some. Now, don't get me wrong. There's some great DC books coming out, and on the absolute line, minus
Absolute
absolute
Power is
Superman.
amazing.
I'm just not
Hey,
fan of
just
Superman.
just mail that one to
Sorry.
me so I can read it and see what
I'll give it
happens.
to you. Yeah, I'll give it to you. If you want it, I will mail it to you gladly. I open that book and close that book. This is why I don't read Superman. But Jim Lee is not good. He is
Mm.
not good running DC. He is now. I'll say they're doing better than Marvel. If I'm not mistaken, DC's numbers are better than Marvel right now.
The only
And I
Marvel book
think,
that's doing relatively well is the Ultimate Spider-Man, and I think Ultimate Wolverine is doing pretty good, but I think that's it.
yeah. But Jim Lee, I am not impressed.
Mm.
I am not impressed with it. So the reason I say that is James Gunn saying he talked to Jim Lee. So what? This is the dude that's running DC.
Now
You're
you're
not proving
saying
anything to
he's
me.
the head of DC now. Now
Yeah.
Jeffrey Johns was head of DC not too long ago, right?
No, that was over 10 years because Jim Lee's
Was it
been
10
head of
years ago?
DC
Well, I mean,
since
that was, to me,
around
then not too long.
2015, 2014.
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
older,
I guess
son.
that's
So
fair. Yeah, yeah. Jim
so
Lee's
us
been
10
head of
years ago
DC
was
for
yesterday.
a while.
Okay.
And he's not doing a good job. And I hate to say that. It pains me to say that. I love Jim Lee, but he is not doing a good job.
Yeah, and I
He's
don't
he
know
is
how
just not.
well Jeff Johns did either. I know as far as when he was getting involved with the movies, he was messing them up. That he was one of the problems, with the movies, and and that was what was going on then. And now we've gotten to the point where somehow Disney, Marvel, and Warner Brothers, and all kinds are infiltrated with the modern desire to please 0.001% of the people with their
And that's a
filthy
big
lifestyle
problem.
garbage that people call woke. So that's the infiltration now, and they're just hiring constantly the writers for it and stuff like that. Um, I don't get it. It doesn't make sense that because it's losing them money constantly, but yet they still are putting these same
I
people
do
into
not
these
Yeah,
positions.
understand.
I think that's the part that confuses me the most, and why I don't really have as much grace for like Star Wars. I'm like, it's like they know there's YouTube videos hours long with millions of views with bibliotected annotations with a bunch of comments about how they could fix our universe, and they're like, let's do
Yeah.
everything the fans would absolutely hate. How about that? Let's do that.
Star
Oh
Wars
yeah, they're
theory.
still putting out commercials saying the Alakite is one of the best
Acolyte.
shows. The
Yeah.
Acolyte.
One
Yeah, I
thing
don't
I
even
will
care.
say, one
He's
thing
like,
I will say that's on topic. That's like a bright spot a little bit, right? Is some of the stuff that's coming out of Marvel. I'm very hopeful for, right? The Spider-Man that's coming after Doomsday, I'm hopeful for. I'm even hopeful for Fantastic Four. I'm hopeful for what follows after, the Superman movie. Mr. Terrific. I don't know how you feel about Mr. Terrific in the movie. I thought he
he was
kind of stole the
excellent.
show for me because, like, I remember the Mr. Terrific from the CW show. Horrible, horrible characterization. Because I
Okay.
know Mr. Terrific. His characterization in the CW, horrendous. But the
I
characterization they
know
had
I know
in this
very
movie,
little about him. I do know he's
yeah,
not homosexual in the comics, and they did
no,
that to
he's
No.
not.
the
Yes,
character
they
on the
did.
CW, and I
Yeah,
hated that. But
I
I was okay
yeah.
with him. I'm kind of a mixed bag. I think that some of the jokes at moments are out of place. Just some.
Well, that's a separate subject, but
Yeah.
I'm excited for the Mr. Terrific show and the fact that we're actually getting an accurate representation of him on the silver screen at least, because we've had it multiple times in cartoons where his characterization was pretty accurate. We've had it in comic books where his characterization was pretty accurate, but the only time I've ever seen him on screen in real life was a CW show,
Yeah.
and it was terrible. It was terrible. His character is a very, as a matter of fact, type of person. He's like a Blue Marvel or an Icon, right? Very logical. So it's like seeing him like that in the actual movies. I was like, oh, this is great. And the fact that they're giving him a show, I'm excited for. I think it's going to be pretty good.
Okay.
Though I didn't really like a lot of like the raunchiness of Peacemaker, I did thoroughly enjoy the show.
I
That's
knew
it.
nothing about Mr. Terrific, was never interested in
One
his
of the
character,
smartest
and this
in
movie made me want to go get
yo
some books. I'm like,
in
oh,
in
now
the
I want to
injustice
go
in
get
the
some books now.
injustice storyline where he's trying to get Superman to support what he's doing. He literally is playing chess with Superman, beating him in chess, then also speaking to Superman in such a way where Superman's like, you have a point, but I don't agree with your point. And it's like one of the best back and forths. It obviously is not one of the more action scenes, but I think it's still a dope scene.
And what
No,
was
Yeah,
that in?
this was an injustice, the injustice storyline. Superman was
Okay.
trying to get Mr. Terrific to take away like every weapon ever, and Mr. Terrific was pretty much saying you could do that, but it's going to cause more issues than it's going to fix. And Superman was like, "Well, we could just force people to." I'm just like, "Okay, I don't know if that's a good idea either." And he was essentially just sunning Superman. It's pretty crazy, but Mr. Terrific is that guy for real. So I'm very
yeah,
excited. He had a good
and
portrayal
I
in the movie.
and this is to me one of the bright spots of the movie, and I said this in my review, and this I stand by. I stand by. Superman is a good movie. Is it a good movie for somebody who is a fan of Superman? Probably not, especially after talking with Don. Probably not. But it's a good movie, and maybe that's what James Gunn was going for, which is as
Hmm.
crazy as it is. The more I look into these movies, I'm beginning to understand. But then this comes from an inherent problem that Don just pointed out. Because comic books have been seeking approval from people that don't read comic books, they have lost many comic book fans. And so now all they're left with is trying to attract an audience who wasn't really into comic books. Now, with that said, I again stand by this. James Gunn made a movie for people who are used to reading comic books. This is a comic book reader's movie. The unfortunate thing, again, after Don's expert witness testimony, is this doesn't seem to be the Superman that we come to love in comic books. Now, because I don't read Superman, I I was immune to this. The kryptonite didn't hit me because I was like,
Mm.
oh, this was a good movie. I
It
like this movie. Why is everybody complaining? I don't get it. But that's therein lies the problem. If you can get a
Mm.
guy like me to love the movie, and I don't know anything about Superman, but you can't get any, well, I won't say any, obviously there's Superman people who love it, which again, this confuses me. the 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 divide with this movie is the most astonishing thing to watch as a non-Superman guy. I'm astonished.
Hmm.
Like, I'm like, wow, this is crazy. Here's this Superman guy over here that loves it, and here's this Superman guy over here that hates it. I love it. And then other people that really don't know anything, they love it. Brooklyn loved it. I watched Roger. He did a review with his kids. They loved it. And Roger was kind of like you. He was like, this is not the Superman that I grew up on. It's not the Superman I'm used to, but I can see how somebody who didn't grow up on a Superman I grew up on would like this movie. And maybe that's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing from a non Superman guy, I'm like, oh yeah, this is a good movie. And then I'm watching all the Superman guys, or a lot of them, like, this movie was trash. And I'm like, what are you talking about? What movie did you just watch? We just watched two different movies. And I still feel that way. I'm like, I watched a different movie than other people watch. When
And
Superman, uh, after that building collapsed on a bridge,
mhm.
and you saw him rising up out of the dust, I was like, yo, that was dope. That was dope right there. I
Yeah,
love that.
I agree. Just a little too far away. Just a little far away.
Could
And
have been a
I
Yeah.
closer shot.
and I sat up front, and looked at my RPX screen. He's a
Wow.
little tiny under. Um,
With that said, I am getting ready to go get something to eat because I am starving. Any last words?
yeah, I think I got a last one. What was your score then?
My score
What was
on
your score on
Superman, I
Superman?
think I gave it, I think I'd give it a solid 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10. And
Yeah.
and I've been seeing a lot of people that even that like the movie, but they're giving it something like that, or 7, or a little bit less than 7, or something like that, which in the 5 scale is 3.5 stars or something like that. And and maybe I could do that. I mean, I'm I'm looking at it more times from the critical brain and saying the writing is lacking. There's
Yeah.
a style in this movie, but the writing is lacking. The effects aren't as good, and somebody pointed out that I heard just recently, you can pretty much do with AI generation as good as effects as a lot of movies are putting out now. So therefore, they have got to focus on good storytelling and good writing. And I could follow the flow of the movie, like you said about your daughters, is all of it made sense and everything like that. But it could have been so much deeper in the writing. Um, and not to compare the two, but the Man of Steel writing is a depth of writing and storytelling in the movie and throughout the whole thing there. And a lot of other movies have that too. This to me is very much lacking in that. It tells you what to do, and it kind of leads you along, and it tells a story that essentially I'm saying throwaway, and loving Superman that makes me dislike the movie more than I would normally.
I can understand that.
Instead of saying, because
Yeah.
I don't want anything thrown away. It's something should be built, something should go forward, and they're going to bring something out later on, whatever that may be. I'll watch that too, but I'm not seeing this movie propelling me to look for the next one of these things. I'm just waiting.
Hmm.
See, I greatly anticipate the day when they're smart enough to, in some way, finish off the Zack Snyder's 5 movies. Let
Weren't
him
they
I
do
think at
supposed
two
to
this
do that
more
point,
on Max?
and do
They
it.
were
they
supposed to do that
were,
on Max,
they
weren't they?
were, but I don't remember exactly what happened. I think when the writer's strike started and stuff like that, it kind of messed up a lot of things. But they have been wanting to replace Henry Cavill Superman since like 2021.
Oh yeah,
Like that
but
was the decision they made long
no, no,
before
no,
that.
no.
So they were already moving in a different
that
direction.
was that was 2014. They wanted to get rid of him. They didn't let
That
him
was a year after
continue.
his first movie.
I know they wouldn't do a second movie with him. They were
That's nuts.
refusing Henry Cavill from the
I didn't
beginning,
know that.
and
I
But you
didn't
know
know
what?
that.
everybody
Oh
was
my
like, "What are
gosh.
you doing? Where's the
They hate
next
money.
Superman movie?"
They hate money. I'm convinced.
They
Hindsight though,
hate money. That's exactly right.
hindsight though, I want to go back and see what was the reception of Man of Steel because I thought it was good. And I was watching somebody else talk about this and they were like, no, it was divided when Man of Steel came out. Because I guess people had a
Critics were
problem.
divided.
Yeah, I guess they had a problem
Yeah.
with him killing Zod. I guess that was one of the things. But
Some
I
of
was
it, fans were
but I,
only somewhat divided because of a variety of weird reasons, and they gave the same kind of score to that movie. Said it's not my Superman that I grew up with, and the thought that came to my mind immediately when that lady said that was, but you didn't like Superman Returns, which was the one you wanted. but you didn't like that for whatever reason. You didn't like
Interesting.
that,
Yeah,
so
very
you
interesting.
can't have it
Yeah,
both ways, and you
that's an
couldn't please
interesting
that
point.
person. I wrote a lot about Man of Steel when it came out. I watched it a few times. You know, um, I can't tell you a number
by by few, which I was
Bro
like,
by
probably saw it
few.
like 82. It seems like you just see it because I'll see it for the movie. Like I'll see it like 3 or 4 times. You've seen this movie 4 times. You hate this movie. Well, I hate, but you don't
yeah.
like it either. It's funny.
So what about a movie you like? That's
20
that's
times.
crazy.
That's it.
Yeah,
Are you at least was that AMC member where you can watch
yes, I
movies
can
as
watch
many?
them for cheap.
Okay, yeah, that
Okay,
makes
Now I
yeah.
sense.
watched the first two times in 4DX 3D though, and that cost an extra $10 almost.
Oh man, no, not 3D.
Now
I don't
the
like any movie in 3D.
Yeah, and my problem with it again is I've gone to these screenings and went to today to watch it, and the theaters are not full. I'm glad that y'all's were full. If you went to it and it was packed out,
I
but
had to get a 10:30 showing. That's that's how
yeah.
crazy it was.
Now whether or not it, but then again, when you walked in, was it full or not?
Yeah,
Okay, because
it was pretty deep.
me and Carson went to it, it was about half sold out. But when we went
Mm.
to, only half of the people that were sold out showed up. So I'm like, what is going on with these people not showing up to pay? They're paying for a $30 or $10 ticket and not showing up. That's really weird.
Mm.
And then I hear other people saying,
Interesting.
"Hey, mine was packed out, no other seats." And I wonder if that means they were buying it and it looked like it was sold out, or really when they sat down, everybody was filled in around them. I'd love to hear the truth about that, whichever way, because
Yeah, it's a lot of conflicting info.
my experience has just been a lot more empty
So
than
what'd
that.
you say you rated on a scale of 1 to 10? What'd you say?
Oh, I
I'm
didn't say,
curious.
huh?
You went off on a
I
tangent, and I was like really curious to hear what you would say, and then we got to here.
my two brains, right? Let me pull it up actually, because
You got this written down too.
yeah, well, I scored it to Letterbox, uh,
Ah,
because um, Rotten Tomatoes won't put my score up. So on Rotten Tomatoes, I'm giving it a 1 because they have to
because
get
they
some
took your
truth
score
out
down.
there. Ultimately, on Letterboxd, I'm giving it a 2-star rating. And I
It's not that
could
bad.
give it a 3 to 3.25, uh, trying to just ignore some of the things that just, I feel are too much of a missed opportunity. Because it's a lot
Yeah,
of missed opportunity things that make me upset about it.
mm, that's understandable.
That thing that makes me say, "Oh yes, next movie, what is it? Come on, let's go." Because a lot of it, I want to see what happens. What is this Mister Terrific? What's he gonna be? Tell me more about it, because I know nothing from the comic books. I want to see.
That's why we're getting
I
the
want to
show.
hit. I want to see his thong wearing spheres and what they do.
You said
And
thong wearing spears. It's T
I was
Spears.
making sure I heard that right. um,
I want to see it. I want to see Hawk Girl as much as some people don't like her, and I didn't necessarily like her screaming constantly. I want to see whatever they're gonna do with her. How are they gonna play out this Maxwell Lord sponsored heroes idea of? Hopefully, it goes away from Justice Gang. You
it
I'm
know.
more than
sure it
likely
will.
will. I think it
Yeah, I'm
more than
sure it
likely
will.
will.
So,
I
but we'll
wonder if they'll
see.
do the Justice Society of America. I wonder if they'll do that.
But at the same time, I'm like, I don't really care. I think I wouldn't mind if WB Discovery just went completely out of business, and maybe somebody that really cares would buy up the thing and say, hey, we're going to do these things
They're not
right.
going. They're not going out of business anytime
I
soon.
Yeah,
I'm
I'd believe
wondering,
that.
and
So
I'm wondering, and I've thought about this now that you say that. Uh, I've wondered the past month if we would have been better off if both Disney and Warner weren't buying up all of these properties. But then, would we have ever gotten connected universes in movies? So it's like a catch 22.
yeah. Well, the
Like
problem with Disney Marvel is who they hire to write these things and
Yeah,
form the
agreed.
direction. It's
I've
like
never read this comic
that's
before.
wrong. And it's not even necessarily about that. They're just not good writers, and they have the worst ideology in the world. Like, come on, look at the success of Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah,
It's
that should tell you
it's
everything you need to
as
know about what direction to go, what
yeah,
people want to see.
it's
Yeah,
as
I
plain
agree.
and obvious as you could possibly figure out. But,
Yeah.
but
So
that
so
would go
Zika,
into a whole bunch of different other movies and stuff.
what's your score before we end? What do you give it?
Um, if I was on Letterbox, if I was like rating this on Letterbox, I'd probably give it like 3.5. I give it a 3.5, 3.8. But I give it like an 8. I give it like an 8.7. It's not a bad
Yeah, I
movie.
think
I think it's a pretty decent movie. I'm not gonna say it's like Batman levels of good, but it's a good movie. I'm definitely gonna go see it again.
We'll have
yeah,
to
I
have
agree.
the Batman full discussion or something.
Oh nah, you don't want that. Batman's the character I know the most about. I'm sorry. It's not gonna
Yeah.
be.
We might just have the two of you explain it to me as I watch it on screen and say,
I
"Oh,
don't like
okay,
this
I
part.
see what he's saying." Because
I'll
I'd be
give you
down.
you
I'll
only
give
got
you
to
I'll
hear
give
me say that I didn't like how he was walking at that moment, and I didn't really get to much else.
I'll give you one thing
Much else.
that most people didn't understand, and I understood it immediately. At the end of the movie, where he hit the fire extinguisher, and you kind of see him look at that, I'm like, smoke grenades. This is where he first gets the idea for this. And I understood that because this is year one, year two Batman. He's just figuring things out. I understood that going into the movie. So the things that people struggled with, I'm like, what are you talking about? He literally just put on a cowl. He's just learning his way. He is just figuring this out. I think people are not used to watching character development. I think people want character development in small fragments, and they want everything given to them on screen, polished right out the gate. Right? The same thing happens, and I'll end with this. Same thing happens in Ultimate Spider-Man. People had a problem with the fact that Jonathan Hickman, across many issues, it was a lot of dialogue, and I'm like, you people are too impatient, and you're not used to character and world building. That's a problem. And to your point, maybe we need to get back to world building, character building, and stop making everything microwave. Make people wait. Make
Hmm.
people wait. People don't have enough capacity to think. It's because everything